Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this month. These are going to be the horoscopes for the 12 rising signs for the month of May 2025. If you guys don't know me, it's nice to meet you. I'm Candice Marie. I'm a Western astrologer and also a tarot reader. I like to combine tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. And I want to say welcome to everybody who is new, who has been subscribing and kind of joining the channel. It's nice to have you guys here. Each month, I try to create a very personalized one-on-one kind of feeling for the month ahead. We're going to take a look at the transits, the biggest impacts that are going to be kind of playing out for the month of May. And before I get into that, I always like to talk to you guys a little bit about my offerings for the month ahead. Now, I am cooking up something special. I'm actually working on a Saturn return in Aries boot camp. So if you are coming up on your Saturn return over the next couple of years, we're going to see Saturn actually in the sign of Aries. So those of you guys who are like 27, 28 years old, 29 years old, can be really helpful. It's going to help you guys navigate this particular period. I'm going to talk about how to make the most of this time. Lots of tips, tricks, remedies. And like I said, it's a boot camp. So I'm going to help you guys navigate this and kind of have a better understanding of what's going on with Saturn in this sign, how there are some major karmic things at play, and how it's impacting you based off of the placement in your natal horoscope. So I'm excited to have that out. I just recommend going to my website, and while you're there, sign up for my newsletter. We do have Saturn entering into Aries at the end of the month. So my goal is to have this ready for you guys before that ingress. You can find that at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Now, if you guys like my work and you want to support me, honestly, there's a number of different ways that you can do that. I am a full-time content creator. I put out 4 videos a week on the channel every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. We do obviously these horoscopes. That's kind of like my contribution to the collective, as well as other videos, new moons, full moons, ingresses. Sometimes we also have like little mini webinars on transits. You guys can consider joining my memberships. I have 3 different levels. Level 1 is going to just support my work. Level 2, you're going to get a shout out. And level 3, you do all of that and you get a reading from me once a month on one of my Friday lives. So consider joining my memberships, or you guys can donate. You can scan the QR code right up there if you would like to give me a tip in my cosmic tip jar. But please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it on your socials, send it to your friends, other Astro fans, and make sure if you're already subscribed that you're still subscribed. Look below, click the bell button so you're alerted as to when I am on YouTube. Now, I'm here most every Friday doing live readings. I'm always here at 6:00 p.m. Central Time. That's going to be 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast and 7 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. We alternate every other Friday between doing live astrology or live tarot readings. Usually around the new and the full moons is when I'm doing the astrology readings, and the other weeks I'm doing tarot. I always post the link early in advance for my lives so you guys can get in the queue. You can sign up for a reading on Friday mornings. So this is where it pays to be subscribed to the channel. If you guys want to get a reading with me, you just look for that link on my community tab on Fridays, and you guys can send your donations and guarantee that you're going to get a reading because they do fill up fast. Now, if you want to book a personal reading with me, my books are open. I am booking now in August and September of 2025, so I'm a busy lady. But if you know you have a birthday coming at the end of summer or maybe even in the fall, good time to book. I do natal chart astrology, transit readings, election readings for special events and dates like weddings, launches, and moves. I also do synastry readings for relationships and much, much more. So you guys should check out my work if you would like to get a reading at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I also have all kinds of other things. We've got digital calendars that you can incorporate right into your phone or your desktop computer. We also have a beautiful 2025 printed astrology calendars. You can see it right back there, along with like all kinds of rituals and remedies for each month. And we do a spotlight on the zodiac sign. We have a digital form of that as well. If you guys want to download, you can purchase that. And I also teach tarot and astrology. So I've got several study at your own courses, everything from beginner's astrology to understand a natal chart to more complex things like synastry and timing techniques. So check that out under my courses page if you guys want to learn with me. All right, thanks for the shameless plugs. We're moving on. We're going to go now into the transits that catch my eye for May of 2025. So if you're new here, basically, these are the transits that I'm going to be really focusing on. I'm going to be looking at this from the lens of your ascendant sign and seeing how these transits are impacting you personally. You can take a snapshot of this if you want to have a screenshot so you can kind of reflect and kind of review on this throughout the month. You can put it in your calendar. You can also look in the details in the description box below. You'll see all of this text that's there as well if you just want to copy and paste and you want to save it for your own calendars. So I will be kind of going through all of these more in depth for the 12 signs, but I like to kind of tell you guys what the month looks like ahead. So I'm going to tell you first things first, okay? May is a very different month. I'm very excited to be out of what seems like a very chaotic March and April. We got slammed with eclipses. We had retrogrades. There was conjunctions to Neptune, conjunctions to Saturn, hopelessly and gloriously confusing. From here forward, things are going to pick up steam. We are going to see lots of momentum. We're going to see things happening quickly. We've got a Saturn ingress that's happening in Aries at the end of the month. And Saturn is going to be playing with Pluto, and we're going to see Gemini season kind of pick up and lots of air and fire. So we're not going to be feeling sluggish. We're not dealing with all of these kind of retrograde issues. And I'm really excited to see the kind of like the next couple of months unfold because I feel like it's going to be very big for the collective. Now, I always talk to you guys about the ingresses. This is when planets change signs. I also talk to you guys about which planets are going retrograde. We've got lunations, which will be the new and the full moon. And then we've got a kind of master list of other things. So just to kind of keep it in order, because I'm going to go through like date by date. Essentially, at the beginning of the month, we are going to start with a Venus-Neptune connection. So we're going to see Venus conjunct Neptune in the sign of Aries. The month is kicking off really with like a romantic bang, right? So on one hand, Venus, the planet of love, it's locking eyes with mystical Neptune in the sign of Aries. So obviously, if you have anything in the early degrees of Aries, you want to pay attention. Sparks can definitely fly with this conjunction, but so does smoke. There can be confusion. There can be questioning love and money things. And I feel like this is going to be passion, but with sides of illusion. So yes, your hearts might race with this conjunction, but I think it's going to be towards things like fantasy or flings. Maybe some creative bursts can come from this as well. Just watch those rose-colored glasses, guys, okay? We've seen this conjunction happen several times throughout the Venus retrograde, and this time it's happening in conjunction to Neptune in Aries. So it's got a different flavor. I would say it's positive for leaning into inspiration, just not delusion. Perfect if you're an artist, perfect if you are a lover, a romantic, or if you're just craving a little bit more of a muse in your life, this can definitely make that possible. Now, on the 4th of the month, we're going to see the only retrograde that's going to take place all month long is going to be Pluto turning retrograde in Aquarius. If you happen to have any personal planets around 0 to 4 degrees of Aquarius, sun, moon, rising, personal planets, you're under a Pluto transit. So we're going to be seeing now Pluto retrograde back between 0 and 3 degrees this year. Essentially, Pluto is like the big bad wolf of astrology. I feel like this is the deep dive master. So with this retrograde, he's kind of hitting the brakes in Aquarius. It's not just a pause. It's like basically a 5-month excavation of power. So truth and rebellion is very much associated with this transit. I do feel like there is going to be some collective whoa kind of moments, and hidden motives might be bubbling up in the area of Aquarius in your chart. We want to rethink our big picture goals. That's really the focus here because revolution is going to start within. And when we're dealing with a retrograde, it's something that's very internal. It's intense, but it is necessary and it is transformative. This is also happening on the heels of what we just had, the final Mars-Pluto opposition. Now, on the 6th of the month, we're going to see Mercury coming into conjunction with Chiron in Aries. Sidebar, there are lots of Mercury things going on this month. I meant to kind of tell you guys this at the beginning, but lots of Mercury things happening this month. Obviously, we're going from Taurus season to Gemini season, so I'm not surprised. But remember that Mercury is connected to the South Node in Virgo. So there is a lot of dealing with the past, clearing things out, getting organized, realizing what's breaking down, what's not working. So that will create lots of mercurial communication, travel type of changes that can happen. When we see this conjunction between Mercury and Chiron, I really feel like this is where words are really meeting with wounds on this day. Obviously, Mercury kind of snuggling up next to Chiron, the healer. It's in the sign of Aries, which is very bold. So this is raw, real communication, real talk. Breakthrough combos and aha moments are expected with this conjunction, but it might sting a little bit because Chiron is where we're addressing a wound. We're dealing with pain or healing themes of the self. So it's all about speaking your truth, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't come out right. Vulnerability is definitely going to be a vibe with this transit, and I feel like it's very much lighting the way for courageous conversations and self-expression. On the 10th of the month, we're going to see Mercury enter into the sign of Taurus. So this is very grounded. This is an earth sign. Taurus is practical. It is slow, and it may slow the mental pace a little bit. More of having our mind on pleasure, values, resources, money, that kind of stuff. And I feel like after having a Mercury retrograde in Aries, and also that was a bit of a rush with some of the transits that were going on at the time, now we're shifting into a much more practical state of mind. We're getting more grounded. We're thinking things through. So our mind is going to be on things like money, comfort, and what is going to be long lasting. So this is all about planting seeds, literally or metaphorically, because this energy really loves a solid payoff. So we're going to see some interesting aspects that are going to happen with that Mercury transit, but we'll kind of get to that down the road. All right, on the 12th of the month, we're going to see the first lunation that's going to be taking place. This is going to be the full moon in Scorpio. This full moon will be at 22 degrees. So if you have any personal planets around, I would say 21 to 23 degrees of Scorpio or the fixed signs, pay attention. This is a big moment for you. We have the full moon once a month. Obviously, the full moon in Scorpio is making an opposition to the sun in the sign of Taurus. So it's very much about life and death, endings and beginnings, major shock and surprises with Scorpio, dealing with intimacy, joint assets, secrets. Now, what's interesting about this is that we see some sweet and salty aspects. Obviously, we're always looking at what's going on with Mars when we're looking at a Scorpio lunation or Pluto, because these are the two corresponding rulers. Cue the drama on this one. 22 degrees deals with long-standing issues, things connected to power, things connected to work, career, responsibility. It's a Capricorn degree. We're going to see with this full moon, there is a very kind of sultry, soul-stirring showdown. There is going to be an opposition to Uranus in Taurus, and I feel like this is a little wild because we can see some major money stuff coming up. Also, it will be making a trine to Saturn in Pisces, which I feel like is stabilizing. It's going to get boosted also by a very fiery Mars in Leo trine to Venus in Aries. Emotions run deep, secrets get spilled during Scorpio full moons, and obviously passion is going to be ignited. Now, Mercury at the time of this particular full moon is in a square to Pluto in Aquarius. And that's important because it means there's going to be deep, intense conversation. There's mental pressure. Maybe it's going to feel like a bit of like a mental tug of war. That's kind of the feeling that I get on this. And it's going to be about stubborn ideas versus radical truths. And this is all about feeling it all, but not drowning in some of the drama that might come up. We want to release things that are heavy. We want to let them go with that trine to Saturn. And I feel like this is going to be perfect for all of those, like, I'm finally letting it go, kind of like montages in our lives. So on the 17th of the month, we're going to see the sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So that's kind of a rock and rollin', anything goes day. At the same time, we're also going to be seeing Mercury coming into a square with Mars in Leo. So conjunctions to Uranus, shock, right? Kind of disruption. The squares, friction. And in this case, it's going to be some kind of mental friction. So this is a day where I'm expecting major electrifying vibes. I feel like with the sun and Uranus kind of teaming up in Taurus, there can be jolts of, unexpected things happening, but it can also be like mental brilliance. It can mean that there is, sudden cash wins, wild ideas, and definitely shaking up the status quo is what we see with Sun-Uranus aspects. However, at the same time, that square between Mercury and Taurus and Mars and Leo is going to spark some fiery conversations, some fierce debates, and some creative clashes. So it's chaotic, but it's exciting. And we want to ride the wave and kind of dodge some of the petty fights and disruptions that can kind of come up, because this is all about innovation, innovating how we do things, innovating our ideas, communication. It can be a good kind of spitballing, having a team meeting, opportunity, but not everybody's going to agree with those squares. Now, on the 20th of the month, we're going to see the sun enter into the sign of Gemini. So we're going to be kind of saying farewell to Taurus season, welcoming Gemini season. Really, this is going to light things up a little bit. It's going to feel a little bit more airy. Obviously, Gemini is a mercurial sign, so it's very chatty. And it's about connections, curiosity, and obviously quick moves. So this is a really good time now to start networking, flirting, maybe diving into a new book. It's also really about variety. Variety is the spice of life when we're dealing with transits in Gemini. On the 22nd of the month, we're going to see a very beautiful Venus-Mars trine. So Venus will be in the sign of Aries still. It'll be trining Mars in Leo. Venus is now moving out of her post-shadow period, so we're not feeling the impacts of the Venus retrograde that's been kind of kicking around the last 2 months. This is steamy. I like Mars-Venus trines, especially when it's in fire signs. Venus and Mars lock into this trine, and it's all about Aries' boldness and desire with Leo's flair. So romance can be definitely on the horizon. We can see lots of good chemistry, romantic dates, kind of things heating up and sizzling, and confidence I do think is going to be soaring. Great to get those creative juices flowing. And this is the day for bold moves, whether it's in love or money. Maybe you want to go on a hot date. Maybe you have a performance that you have to give, or you just want to start strutting your stuff. This is pure cosmic chemistry. So this is one of my favorite days of the month. On the 24th of May, we're going to see the Sun in Taurus trine Pluto in Aquarius. This is a very, very powerful day. The same day, Saturn will enter into Aries. So power is meeting with purpose, right? So when we see the Sun kind of harmonizing with Pluto, it's bringing ideas and bigger breakthroughs. Perfect for visionaries, perfect for writers, for networking, for learning new things, and kind of getting your mind on board with change. Now, Saturn, this is like probably one of the biggest headlines for the month of May. Saturn is now moving into the sign of Aries. Truth be told, he does not perform very well here, okay, because he's moving through a cardinal fire sign, and this is not exactly his forte. This is about starting new things, learning new opportunities, about new responsibility, new karma, and also personal accountability is a big theme with Saturn and Aries. So Saturn's kicking off this 2.5-year cycle in this new sign. And this is really about bringing discipline in with like a warrior's kind of edge. Dream big, right? We have to hustle hard, and Saturn is really here to help you build your empire. But first, we have to gain clarity about where we are going. This is the period of the year where now Saturn and Neptune are going to be moving very close in proximity to one another, giving us kind of glimmers for what is actually going to be built, what new things are happening in our lives, and how we're really showing up in 2026 under the Saturn-Neptune connection. Then we will see on the 25th of the month, Mercury enters into Gemini, so it's moving into its home sign. Very potent for communication, lots of mental buzz, especially as we're seeing Mercury kind of built into what will be the new moon in Gemini, and it's going to be making trines to Pluto. So I feel like lots of wittiness, lots of mental kind of speeding up, clever comebacks, all that stuff is going to kind of come with Mercury in Gemini. And I really feel like we're going to feel much more sharp and social with this ingress. It's all about really using our brain power to our best capabilities, multitasking, and keeping an open mind. Now, on the 26th of the month, we're going to see a beautiful new moon in the sign of Gemini. I like this new moon. It's at 6 degrees, so it's great for kind of getting organized with all of our mental clutter, great for learning new things, for scheduling things, and it's all about the details when we're dealing with a 6. This is awesome. We've got a new moon that is conjunct Mercury, so we've got Mercury in the same sign of the new moon, so that's going to be wonderful for really opening our mind and initiating new contracts, conversations, new things that we're learning, planning trips. It is going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius, so it's deep, it's powerful. It's also about networking and working with the collective and thinking about the future. And it's also going to have a sextile to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So we're getting the cosmic like green light with this new moon for bold new moves, deep talks, and also focusing on our own personal goals and making them a reality. This is a new moon where you definitely want to set intentions about what's going to be sparking joy. And I really feel like this is such a beautiful new opportunity. One of I think the most powerful new moons in all of 2025. Then finally, on the 29th of the month, we're going to see a few days later, the Sun will conjunct Mercury in Gemini. So this will be the Mercury Cazimi. Powerful moments of awareness, right? Epiphanies, downloads, And it's going to have our brains kind of buzzing a little bit. Lots of big news and information may be coming out as we're kind of fusing intellect and identity with this connection. So I think it's going to be like a light bulb moment where some of us are going to go, I have something to say, or I need to write this down, or I'm going to start kind of writing my book, or I'm going to start, learning something new. And we can really shine through words with this conjunction, ideas, or we can just have like a killer pitch opportunity. So it's really a time to spotlight our smarts, and also a time to really think about what it is we have to say. What do we want to share with people, and how can some of our mental creative abilities shine? All right. So there you have it. That is going to be the month at a glance. These are the transits I will be looking at for all 12 of the rising signs. So this is going to be the May 2025 rising sign horoscopes. As a reminder, I'm a Western astrologer, so I am going to be focusing on looking at this from Western perspective. I am not a Vedic astrologer. I will be using the whole sign method as I break down these transits for the month ahead for the 12 signs. I recommend to make the most of my readings, listening for your ascendant sign first. That's going to give you an idea of just exactly where in your life some of these things are going to be kind of popping up. You can also listen to your sun and your moon sign, as those are important for helping navigate your joy, your creativity, as well as your career and your home and family life. There's usually something that's going to give you some insight from all three of these particular placements. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you first about each and every one of your chart rulers, let you know what's kind of going on with your chart ruler for the month ahead. I'm going to be kind of talking about on the screen, looking at your chart, where some of these planets are going to be moving and how to make the most of the transits. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What's up, Aries and Aries rising? Welcome to your May 2025 horoscopes. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited to chat with you about what's going on in your sign this month. All right, so essentially, all month long, you're still going to see Mars in Leo. So nothing has really changed in terms of that dynamic. Thankfully, we are not really going to see some squares to Uranus yet. Nothing like that's going to be happening. So there's just still going to be an emphasis on what's going to bring you joy. What do you love doing? Whether it's a hobby, if it's hanging out with a playmate, spending time with your kids, dating. Mars lighting up your fifth house is all about these topics. You will see outside of that there is going to be a brief square between Mercury and Mars. So you're going to want to listen for that transit because there can be some conflicts in terms of talking about money and what brings you joy. And the big news is you are going to be having Saturn entering into your sign this month. Saturn deals with your career and anything in regards to your public identity, as well as your purpose out in the world. It's also connected to your groups and your goals. So this is a once in a 28, 29 year transit where Saturn is going to be moving through your first house. This is going to be really about personal accountability, how you're taking care of your body, whether or not you're going after your goals as well as your dreams, and having, I think, better boundaries also with other people. You will see Saturn go in and out of this sign throughout 2025. So you're getting a little bit of like a sneak preview of what's going to be happening in 2026. But if we're going to start at the beginning of the month, on the 2nd, we are going to have a Venus-Neptune conjunction that's going to be taking place in your sign. So in the first house, we've got Venus moving in. This is going to be about, personal charm, beauty, anything in regards to attracting relationships. And Neptune is associated with your 12th house, which can be a little bit more romantic. It can be hidden. It can be private. So happening in the first house, this is a very dreamy, romantic kind of creative vibe, and it can really enhance your identity. It might potentially soften your approach to, self-expression or artistic projects. Just be aware of illusions about yourself. Might be a day where you're playing with like filters and things, and you're kind of making some changes in terms of how you want to be seen. Can also be a really great day to take a photo of yourself because there can be some really amazing lighting and, kind of pictures that you can get. Now, on the 4th of May, you're going to see Pluto turn retrograde in Aquarius, and this will be taking place in your natal 11th house. Pluto is about change. It's about releasing and letting things go. I think this retrograde in your 11th house is really about transformation in friendships or groups kind of changing in some way, friendships changing in some way. Also reassessing power dynamics with your peers. That can also be another theme. Obviously, in recent weeks, you've had a Mars-Pluto opposition, so maybe there has already been some brewing tension revolving around certain social groups and maybe taking space from certain people. If you're feeling like you're just not in alignment, especially with your beliefs, your goals, or your creative projects. On the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in your sign, and that'll be in the first house. So this is actually really important when it comes to your health, your habits, your well-being. Mercury obviously is connected to your mind and communication, how you communicate with your coworkers, how you're communicating with your neighbors, your siblings, what's on your mind. And that connection to Chiron is all about healing conversations about your self-worth or identity. And this can give you the opportunity to really kind of be a little bit more vulnerable and focus on themes of communication that can bring better self-esteem and also personal empowerment. You may have some conflicts in communicating with people in relation to work or your close family relationships this day. You might kind of feel like you're the oddball, you're the odd man out. Watch your health, especially anything kind of connected to the lungs, the shoulders, digestion, or anything kind of connected to the mind. You're going to see on the 10th of the month, Mercury will enter into Taurus. So it's going to go into your second house, which is going to be obviously about money and values. So practical communication about finances can take place here, setting budgets, thinking long-term about your goals, maybe even some changes revolving around your personal spending habits, and getting your finances in order can definitely be a theme here. There could be new apps, there could be new accountants, people who are coming in to help you kind of sort some of this stuff out. On the 12th of the month, you're going to see a full moon in Scorpio, which will be happening in your natal 8th house. Okay, so the 8th house is hidden. It's very intense. This can be about passion, sexual related things, joint finances, investments, loans, insurance, and inheritance. So when you have a full moon here, it's a powerful kind of conclusion or culmination when it comes to shared resources, intimacy, or just transformation in general. Secrets can surface and they can really help you release emotional baggage tied to trust. And like I said, with this particular, full moon, it's going to feature Mercury square Pluto, so intense conversations about money and goals revolving around money. And maybe you're talking to your bank, maybe you're talking to a business partner or a spouse about like what you value and what your goals are. Intense conversations there possibly. But I feel like with Venus and Mars and a trine with one another, you can be on the same page with other people about, what is worth kind of spending money on and like what is going to make you happy in the long run. But still, shocks and surprises, financial kind of swings can happen under a full moon in your second and 8th house axis. Now, you are going to see on the 12th of the month, Mercury in Taurus is going to square Pluto in Aquarius. So, that's kind of happening right around the same time, obviously, as the full moon. Just watch for tension between personal finances and group expectations. I would also say avoid obsession over money or status. That can be coming up for some of you guys during this full moon. Now, on the 17th of the month, the sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and this will be happening in your natal second house. That conjunction can bring about a sudden shift in your income or in your values. I would embrace change and also kind of brace for financial liberation of sorts. Some unexpected opportunity to spend, to gain something, some kind of luxury purchase, something like that can happen out of the blue, and it can make you very happy. And I think that that's kind of happening after the full moon is kind of playing out in a way where you're like, wow, okay, I've been able to kind of reach some kind of financial goal or obtain something that I've been wanting. Now, you will see on the 17th of the month that there will be a square between Mercury and Mars. So this is the transit that I think might impact you a little bit more. Obviously, the second house is going to bring up friction between money matters, and that square is bringing up tension in creative or romantic pursuits. So there's a lot of I want this. This is going to make me happy, and trying to communicate that. I think some of you guys might be impulsively spending. So this is a day that you might want to put the credit or the debit card away, really think something through before you leap into taking some kind of either financial risk, or maybe you're just purchasing something because you think that it's going to be entertaining. On the 20th of the month, the sun enters into Gemini. So it's going to leave Taurus, where it's been focusing on your finances, and it's going to move into your third house, where now it's shining a light on communication, learning, local connections, your siblings, your neighbors. Creative writing can be good. Blogging, anything connected to your socials can also be a little bit more potent under this transit as well. Short distance trips and contracts can also get highlighted with this. Now, when we get to the 22nd of the month, this is that really beautiful Venus-Mars trine. So Venus will be in your first house of self, where you're feeling beautiful, attractive, you're bringing people in, you're kind of carrying yourself with a sense of charm. It's going to be trining Mars in your 5th house. So I love this because passion's really flowing between self-expression with Venus in your sign and romance and creativity with obviously Mars in your 5th house. So very bold, very flirty. And if you're involved in anything relationship-wise or any kind of artistic venture, I really feel like it's going to thrive. On the 24th of the month, you're going to see the Sun in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius. So it's kind of trining from your 3rd house of the mind to your 11th house of friends, networks, and allies. I like this day for insightful talks with friends or siblings. You could deepen the bonds here. There can be opportunities to travel and kind of socialize. You might feel like your mind is going through this very transformative period as well. Writing about it, journaling, talking about it, sharing with other people, blogging can all be very beneficial under this trine. Now, biggest news of the month, I think, is the fact that on the 24th of May, Saturn is going to be entering your sign, and you're going to have this for just a few short months before in the fall it retrogrades back into Pisces briefly and you get a reprieve. I want you to think about what's happened over the last several months. I want you to think about the solar eclipse in your sign where you had a new goal, the Mercury retrograde where you're trying to figure out how to better communicate or what direction you're going in with your health, your habits, your work, the Venus retrograde where you've been kind of really reflecting on what you value the most and what you love. I feel like this transit is really about discipline, arriving, and you embracing that being a part of your new personal identity. Structure really supporting some kind of bold sense of self-reinvention. You want to be seen differently, you want to look differently, you want to change your body, you want to change your job, whatever it is, like there's going to be some opportunities for you to really kind of grow up under this transit, regardless of how old you are. So I look forward to that. Take care of your knees. Be mindful that it doesn't matter how old you are under a Saturn ascendant transit. There can be this feeling of dealing with aging and becoming aware of your age. I really recommend having a morning routine with Saturn and Neptune in your first house. If you guys can be meditating in the morning, if you can be praying, if you can be reflecting, if you can be swimming, some kind of combination of spirituality and wellness, or having a morning routine. The rising is where you rise when you wake. Can be really great for just getting clarity on your vision and how you're going to be starting your day. On the 25th of the month, Mercury enters Gemini, so it's going to be moving into your 3rd house where it performs well and it's in its home sign. Remember that Mercury is about the South Node as well, so there is some changes revolving around how you're communicating with people at work, scheduling changes. Maybe there's some changes going on with travel plans. Maybe you're learning something new. It could be about health. It could be about productivity. Maybe you're picking up a new book on that. But regardless, your communication is going to sharpen. So writing, learning, sharing ideas are all going to be highlighted under this transit. Now, on the 26th of the month, you're going to see a new moon that will be in your 3rd house, your 3rd. And I like it because it's going to be an aspect to Saturn and Neptune on your ascendant. I also like it because just in general, this is a very powerful new moon with trines that are going to be taking place to Pluto in Aquarius. This is all about having a fresh start in communication, learning, or sibling dynamics. So plant seeds for new ideas or communications. If you have to sign a contract, doing it after this date. If you have to move, plan a trip. If you want to take a new course. Maybe if you're thinking about starting a new blog, a YouTube channel, some way of kind of connecting with an audience, this is a wonderful time to consider doing these things. And then finally, on the 29th of the month is where you're going to see the Mercury cazimi. And I feel like this could be with the Sun and Mercury in conjunction in your 3rd, highlighting the Mars transit in your 5th. Yeah, mental clarity is going to definitely peak, but speaking, writing, or connecting with confidence is definitely a huge thing. Maybe you're going to be planning something connected to, like a road trip. Maybe you're going to be deciding that you want to start a new blog. There can be some insightful email, phone call, text message, that can kind of come up. Traveling can spark romance opportunities. Meeting people also in your local community or online can happen here if you're a single Aries. And that sextile to Saturn and Neptune in your sign, I feel like is very much about your vision. And you're trying to relay your vision either on paper or in writing or in communication. So definitely sparking some kind of confidence with your communication skills. That's the month ahead. I hope it's helpful for you guys. Let me pull a card for you and let you know what the cards say for the month of May. I love that you have all this Gemini energy going through your third house and you get the Page of Swords. So can be saying watch for obviously a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius. That can definitely be a theme. This is also about younger people, okay? So creative collaborators, children, romantic partners, younger people in your life. Being a little bit more bold and playful, I feel like is the theme with Mars being in your fifth house. So creative writing, maybe learning something new. Pages are always about new opportunities and new beginnings, something new starting. So maybe you're just starting to learn a language. Maybe you're just starting to learn about a new hobby. Be curious. That's the best thing I can tell you with the Page of Swords coming up. Be curious, ask questions, and also anything that's going to be about back and forth communication definitely gets kind of kicked up with the Page of Swords. So swift conversation. Think emails, text messages, letters coming in the mail, things like that you have to respond and reply to. And definitely great if you're going to be starting new media. So like I said, blogs, websites, social media. This is about learning more about how to get your message out there. I'll catch you guys back here next month, and I hope you enjoy the month of May. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. Welcome to May of 2025. I hope you're well. And if you happen to be a May Taurus, happy birthday to you. I hope it's a good one for you guys. Honestly, not too much is going on with Venus this month. We're going to see one particular Venus aspect, maybe two. But for the most part, Venus is actually spending the month in Aries. So you're going to kind of see her hanging out where she had been retrograde the past 2 months. So you might feel like it's a continuation of stuff that you've been dealing with since March and April. But Venus in the 12th house, very spiritual, very kind of reflective. This is being in your cocoon phase. You're kind of healing something. Maybe you're focusing more on meditation, foreign lands, traveling, anything kind of connected to spirituality, resting, healing, and recuperating. Once we get Venus going into Taurus next month, totally different ball game. But for right now, I would say enjoy the downtime, enjoy the behind the scenes romance that can kind of be happening as well. Venus is going to be making a conjunction with Neptune. That's how we're going to start the month. And I think that that's really important to be mindful of, because wherever Venus is where you are. So when Venus makes this conjunction to Neptune in the 12th house, this is about spiritual or subconscious desires stirring. This is also about inspiration flowing, but you want to avoid escapism. Remember that Neptune can be connected, Venus can also be connected to your 6th house. So there can be this feeling of wanting more when it comes to work and service or helping others, wanting more when it comes to relationships. I think a lot of you guys just really want to be paying attention to your health and your habits and what's playing out and your role maybe in things that you need to be releasing or letting go to have like a healthier lifestyle or maybe healthier relationships. Maybe you're just feeling like you just want to kind of have like more movie time, Netflix time in an artist studio, something where you have the ability to just kind of like lose yourself with that transit. On the 4th of the month, we're going to see Pluto station retrograde in Aquarius in your 10th house. So if you're a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, you have anything from about 0 to 4 degrees, you're under a Pluto transit this year. Pluto will be now retrograding for like the next several months, and it's going to be retrograding through your 10th house of career. Pluto deals with relationships to others. So think like clients, allies, business partners, spouses. And Pluto is definitely going to be shaking things up for you guys in the 10th house. This is where, career and power dynamics might hit pause. Maybe there is this feeling that you need to really start reflecting more on your ambitions, on your purpose, your career, your authority. Maybe you're changing directions with your work. Maybe there is a sense of you really saying, you know what, now I know what kind of work I need to go and do. But changes that you're making with either how you connect with your business partners, your clients, it can even mean that there is a change in the way that people are seeing you. That can kind of be happening as well. Obviously, if you're under that 0 to about 4 degrees Taurus placements, you're under the square. So it's putting pressure on you to evolve and focus on this new future that you're creating in your professional life. So take advantage of this. You will see on the 6th of the month that Mercury will conjunct Chiron and Aries in the 12th house, which is kind of building on, I think, the Venus transit there. That's a lot about healing. It is possible that painful thoughts or memories can surface for you. And I would say it can impact your self-esteem. You can feel a little bit more anxious or maybe stressed out about romantic partners because of the connection to your fifth. Maybe you're reevaluating how you feel about your self-esteem. Maybe you got some money stuff that's kind of stressing you out on your mind. But watch for those painful thoughts that might surface. I would really encourage you to do some journaling that can bring healing. I would also say anything that's going to be grounding exercises can be helpful for you as well. As you guys know, the 12th house can be about churches, healing centers, temples. So it can also mean that maybe, your church is, sitting down and meditating and journaling. Maybe it's going to be going and, working out and kind of clearing the mind, right? Aries. So find ways to kind of take time to yourself so you can kind of process some of this stuff so that way you can get clarity about what you finally can heal and release. Now, on the 10th of the month, you're going to see Mercury enter into your sign. So it's like you get a megaphone. Communication is definitely going to be a huge focus. This is going to be about major shifts in self-expression as well as your identity. And you communicate with much more of a sense of groundedness, authority, clarity even. Mercury deals with your personal possessions and your values, and the fifth house is about what you love, what you enjoy. So you might be getting ready to make some kind of big personal announcement. What is the announcement? I'm working on this, I'm launching this, or how you're communicating with romantic partners or your children is going to be emphasized. Now, on May the 12th, you're going to have quite a banger of a full moon in Scorpio in your 7th house, your opposite sign. If you happen to have any placements between 21 and 23 degrees of Taurus, pay attention because the full moon is going to oppose you exactly. Putting the sun in the first house of self and putting the moon in the 7th house of others is going to be showing the axis of who am I versus who are we together, and also a conclusion, a culmination of what you've been building towards in your relationships. Obviously, this will peak emotionally. It is possible that hidden truths or deeper bonds can emerge in your relationships. So major defining turning points in relationships, making up, breaking up, getting engaged, getting married, that kind of stuff we see with full moons in the 7th. The rulers will be obviously Pluto and Mars. And it means that, something about your work and your home balance is now playing out in your relationships in a big way. Maybe you make a big decision about how you're going to navigate these things, and you're trying to kind of team up with a spouse or a therapist or a partner or a business partner to kind of navigate this stuff. The fact that Venus and Mars will trine one another does make me feel like that even though, it can be a little testy, you can actually work well with your partners, and you'll realize where you've been avoiding making necessary changes and where you guys can work together to bring about that change actually happening in the work and home zone. So through kind of balancing the responsibilities, you guys can kind of see your way through. However, at the same time, that full moon is still kind of opposing Uranus in your first house. So it can kind of show where there's some intensity coming up with other people and you're resistant to change, or you don't want to let go of your freedom. So watch for being a little bit too fixed or inflexible. On the 12th of the month, you're going to see Mercury in your sign square Pluto and Aquarius. So make a note that on this day, it's a day that you want to be very mindful of your communication because you're going to get checked. The first house is self, the 10th house is career. It's also about authority figures. So there can be this clash between you and an authority figure, or a clash between your self-image and your career pressures. Yes, you want to stand firm and you want to kind of say what you have to say, but by the same token, you want to stay flexible because with these fixed squares, we don't want to make change. Remember that the first house is what you do. So you're communicating and you're resisting some kind of change in your career or your relationships. And it's something that needs to be said because it's going to be about your happiness. So not the best kind of contract communication announcement day. And I would say just expect some of the mental kind of pressure there. On the 17th of the month, this is anything goes type of day for my Taurus risings. We are going to see the sun conjunct Uranus in your first house of self. And the sun does deal with the past, your emotions, your home, your family. Uranus is going to be about your authority. And this might be a day where you're screw it. You want to throw everything up in the air and just say I'm going my own way, You may get a little frazzled. There can definitely be a radical personal breakthrough though. And this is all about reinventing yourself and expecting the unexpected. So it can mean that the way that you decide to break free from something, or the way that you look at approaching some of these changes personally and how it impacts your home and your family can actually be very liberating. So it doesn't have to be stressful. Just expect the unexpected. You'll see on the 17th as well that Mercury will be in that square with Mars in Leo. So Mercury in your first house, it will be squaring Mars in your fourth house. So more of this tension between self-assertion and the home life, right? Just avoid stubborn conflict. I do feel like there could be money squabbles or squabbles over children, how you're communicating with children, how you're navigating, expenses relating to your home. You can be like a little mentally, like I said, stressed out or frazzled about this conversation. But the first house is you. So it's like if you can take like a patient, approach where you're not rushing through things, you're taking your time, I think you'll be fine. Just know that this tension is going to kind of hang around off and on until about the end of the month. Now on the 20th of the month, the sun is going to enter into Gemini. So now it's going to be highlighting your second house, which deals with your values. Money in hand, cash in the bank, what you possess, your spending power, your self-esteem, and also anything kind of connecting to your resources. So it's highlighting the energy shifting into the area of finances as well as self-worth. This is going to be really important really for the rest of the month because we're going to be seeing new moons here. We're going to see a Cazimi here. So there's like lots of basically there's lots of like money stuff that's coming up. I do feel like on the 22nd of the month, when Venus is still moving through your 12th house and trines Mars, you can find peace. Like you can find peace where there's been some kind of conflict or tension in a relationship. Maybe it's been with somebody at home. Maybe it's been with a kid. Maybe it's been with a relationship. I don't know. But you are Venus and other people are Mars. So it's almost like you're ready to wave the white flag and you're like, okay, you know what? We can kind of put this behind us. Inner passion with Venus in your 12th house is really harmonizing with your home life. So it gives you the opportunity to really recharge or beautify your space as well. Maybe a little romance behind the scenes at home. You're going to see on the 24th of the month, the sun in Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius. My, oh my, Taurus, what a great transit. Very powerful for money and professional stuff, okay? So the sun moving into the second house, trining Pluto in the 10th, financial strategies are aligning with your career goals. So what you've been hoping to kind of reorganize about your private life or your home now feels a little bit more settled. Now you feel more solid in accomplishing some of your professional stuff. And while there's been some changes, change can be good. And you can find that there can be a secondary income stream that might actually come from some of the transits at the end of the month. So power moves are playing off. Your career is also feeling like it's on the upward swing. On the 24th of the month, you're going to see Saturn enter into the sign of Aries, and it will be moving into your 12th house. For you, I would say reflect on what's happened with the Venus retrograde, because over the last couple of weeks, we've seen Venus retrograde in and out of Aries and Pisces, and it's been hitting that 0-degree point. So maybe you've been feeling like it's time for me to rest, for me to recuperate, for me to take a step back. Maybe it's time for me to have more of a defined spiritual practice. Maybe you're taking a step back and you're like letting a team kind of manage something professionally and you're just kind of overseeing things. Maybe you're ready to retire or take a break. I don't know what's going on, but this is all about structure coming for your subconscious. So you want to face your inner fears with discipline. This means maybe you're taking time to study, go back to school because it's connected to the 9th, or maybe you're making time to be writing, teaching, publishing. And that's like the new phase of what you're going to kind of be doing behind the scenes. So Saturn will be in and out of that sign a little bit this year before it finally kind of stays in Aries in 2026. Meditation routine would be very helpful with Saturn in your 12th house. I will tell you guys that. And also it can be a time to start thinking about what new things you want to start working on that are going to be career-oriented for the future. Now, on the 25th of the month, we're going to see Mercury enter into Gemini. So now it's in your second house with the sun. Obviously, Mercury is going to be associated with the South Node. Okay, so it can mean that there is now a sense of reflecting, returning to investments that you've made. You're reevaluating your romantic kind of life. You're reevaluating some of your hobbies. There can also be reassessment of like what you truly value the most, like what's going to bring you happiness and joy. On the other hand, this is really good for business. So Mercury going into the second house will sharpen your insights on any money matters. This is also about budgeting or negotiating very easily. So you guys can do this very well, and you can kind of multitask. Sometimes there's a secondary income stream that comes from transits in Gemini in the second house. So it's possible that that's something you're either working towards or that's something that you see that comes in. And then on the 26th, you'll have the new moon in the same house. So honestly, a fresh start with finances and also self-worth. So you want to set intentions for income, also valuing your talents. The fact that you get one money new moon per year means this is when you do the manifestation for resources. If you want to bring in more money, you want to be able to feel more secure in what you're doing, you want to up your value, you do that under this new moon. But it's going to be powerful because it's going to be trining Pluto in the 10th. So it's basically saying like it's working and harmonizing with changes you want to make on a professional level. And it might bring in allies, it might bring support, new clients. It can actually be very potent, especially with Jupiter kind of like in the final moments in Gemini. Like I feel like this is very, very, very strong for you guys to think about where you're going and where you see yourself in about 6 months' time. Now, on the 29th of the month, you're going to see the Sun conjunct Mercury in Gemini. And this is a Kazemi or an epiphany, okay, about money. The Sun's connected to your home. So it might mean that if you've been searching for a new home and something that you want to buy for your home, or if you're looking to buy a property, or maybe you've been thinking about redesigning something, or you've been wanting to buy something for your entertainment, area of your home, it might appear. It can also be positive money stuff because Mercury's in its home sign. The conjunction to the Sun can mean that money finds you somehow. Maybe you find out that your house is worth more than what you bought it for. Maybe it could mean that something that was missing around the home appears. Maybe you just find like the perfect spot that you're gonna like want to sign a lease and rent. But good home and money stuff is going to be happening. And there can also be opportunities for a major clarity in financial planning. So let your ideas kind of run wild with new kind of financial ventures, because this is a day where you can get some pretty significant insight. That is the month at a glance for you guys. So let's take a look and see what the cards say for the month ahead for you, my Taurus. You get the Knight of Wands. All right. So the Knight of Wands can be talking about an Aries, a Leo, or a Sag. This is also about action and adventure, taking risks. I love the theme of taking risks as you're kind of seeing your fifth house ruler in the second of money trining Pluto. Like, I feel like some of you guys are going, I have this new idea for a business, or I'm going to be, thinking about launching something and it's going to take time. Like, really keeping an open mind with what you can do and being creative. I think that's like a huge theme for you guys right now. There can be opportunities for travel. There can also be opportunities for you to go and kind of connect with people very unexpectedly. Usually this is more about adventure and fun and kind of getting out there and getting out of your comfort zone. So you might see some fire signs that kind of come through this month that help you with that process. Good luck, Taurus. I hope you have a happy birthday, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, we got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? My goodness. Well, first of all, if you're a May Gemini, happy birthday to you. Hope it's a good one. We have so many things that are happening this month that are connected to Mercury. So anything Mercury related obviously impacts you. Now, good news is Mercury's not retrograde. Nothing's really going to be happening with Mercury other than some squares, Mercury changing signs, Mercury coming into, your sign, the Mercury Kazemi, like, oh my gosh, Geminis and Virgos are going to have a very busy month. But bottom line is this, you're going to function better when we get to the end of the month. Okay, so when we're getting closer to the new moon in Gemini, when we have Mercury in Gemini, when Mercury is trining Pluto, so know that there's going to be a little bit of like, not tension, but like friction that's going to be happening between Mercury in your 12th house, which is more kind of subconscious, and some of the connections that are going to be made to Uranus. So your intuition might be kind of like really bang on, but it's going to also be kind of in conflict with Mars. So there's a lot of, I'm thinking about something, I've been wanting to say something, I've been kind of sitting on something that I want to propose, or I want to write, or I want to connect with someone, and there's mental tension with Mars. Like one side of you just wants to come out and say it, and the other side of you is like, no, wait. So you might find that you're kind of going back and forth a little bit with that this month. The month obviously starts with quite a few transits in your 12th, okay? So it's not unusual when you're coming up to your birthday. As planets go through your 12th house, there is kind of this stepping back, reflecting on what has happened over this last year, what you're carrying with you into the future, what you want to kind of leave behind. So take time to pause and reflect. If you're coming up into your birthday, or, if you're waiting for planets to kind of come into Gemini, you're going to feel very different by the end of the month, especially as those planets are going to be sextiling Saturn and Neptune, and they're going to be trining Pluto. So trust me when I tell you the end of May is like chef's kiss for your astrology. Now it starts on the 2nd of the month where we see Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries, and this is going to take place in your natal 11th house. Venus is love, beauty, relationships. It is connected to children and romantic relationships for you. It also has a connection to what's hidden and private and kind of like behind the scenes. So friendships take on more of like a dreamy tone with this conjunction. Just watch for the rose-colored glasses when it comes to your friends. You could have a female friend that's going through a trying situation. There could also be romance that can be found in group settings. So it's possible that you meet somebody and you're like, who are they? What are they all about? And you're like asking your friends about them. It is possible that there could be some questions revolving around, are we friends or are we something more? What are we doing here? So celebrating and kind of being around artistic, innovating, independent people is what I would recommend. And it's a great time if you want to join like an artist collective or a group that's going to be about fitness, wellness, creativity, anything like that. Like get out there and mix and mingle because you'll meet some interesting people. On the 4th of the month, we're going to see Pluto station retrograde in Aquarius. So it's going to turn retrograde in your 9th house. Well, if you have a Gemini sun, moon, rising about 0 to, let's say, 4 degrees, you're under a Pluto trine, which is very beneficial for you. Honestly, I don't think it's going to impact you guys that much. But with that being said, retrogrades are a time where we are reevaluating. We're turning within. We're figuring out what is and what is not working. So the 9th house is going to be about belief systems, or maybe, travel slows, studying slows down. There is some kind of review, and you're reviewing what truths you have accepted, okay? And these truths can be about higher education, legally related things. It can also be about health, habits, wellness. Something's kind of changing gears here. But like I said, I don't think it's going to impact you as much as other people. On the 6th of May, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. So this is an important transit because Mercury will still be in your 11th house at this point. Mercury conjunct Chiron essentially means that you're going to have either a heart-to-heart with somebody socially. Maybe somebody is being critical of you. Maybe you have like a spat with a friend. But Chiron wants to help us heal, right? So know that Chiron is connected to Mercury, which deals with the past. So maybe you have a friend you haven't seen for a while and you run into them, right? Or maybe there is like a family gathering or a get together and then you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, or there's been some kind of miscommunication. So healing talks are possible with friends or groups. You just really want to focus on being vulnerable and strengthening bonds with other people and expressing to other people maybe where you've been kind of going through it and allowing other people to support you, or vice versa. On the 10th of the month, you're going to see Mercury enter into Taurus. So your chart ruler is going to go into the 12th house, which is that resting, recuperating, reflecting. You might feel that your dreams are a little bit more prominent, or they're very strong in terms of like the signs and the omens and the symbols. It can also be a time where you're organizing bedrooms, closets, things kind of within your home. I do feel like thoughts generally turn inward when we have Mercury in the 12th house, and it gives us the opportunity for subconscious reflection or, private talks, right, that we're having. It can be with our family. It can be private talks about money, about resources too, because it's in the sign of Taurus. Now, on the 12th, we're going to see a full moon in Scorpio, which will be in your 6th house of health, habits, routines, coworkers, your schedule. This is going to be some kind of conclusion or completion regarding these themes and topics. So you can get health results, you can have a schedule change, you can settle a lawsuit, you can go and see your doctor, you might quit a job, start a job. But really this is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And Mars is going to be in the 3rd house and Pluto obviously is still in the 9th house. So those of you guys who are going through like legal matters, it can be a turning point in regards to that. It can also mean that there are some work or scheduling or health-related things that come up that kind of impact your ability to travel. Focus on emotional release, and obviously this can really prompt a reset in your routines, whether that's with work or health matters. Now, under that particular full moon, you're also going to see Mercury, which will be in Taurus. It's going to be coming into a square with Mars. And this is kind of difficult for you because Mercury is in the 12th house, which deals with healing and recuperation, and it's about subconscious fears. And it's coming into obviously a square, with other things in the chart, not just with Mars, but also we're seeing Mercury that's starting to kind of play with Pluto. Anyway, so the Mercury square Pluto aspect is about subconscious fears clashing with your worldview. So you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to find your own personal truth at this time. On the 17th of the month, we're going to see the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, which will be happening in your natal 12th house. And when this conjunction happens, likely this can be like a sudden epiphany. This can be some kind of insight, some prominent dream that you have, or a sudden spiritual or emotional awakening. So you really want to kind of trust your intuition. It's going to be electrified. Your spidey senses are going to be very strong with this transit. And it might mean that you're just having shifts in your belief system. It might mean that you have some kind of like hit about when you should travel, where you should go, and things that shift your belief system. Then on the 17th of the month, we're going to see Mercury come into a square with Mars, and this is inner tension sparking communication or friction. This is where, Gemini, I want you to pause before acting or reacting. Like take a step back, take a breath before you say something, because you might have some stress or something you're worrying about, and you feel like you have to say something, and I feel like it can create some real conflict with friends, with people online, in how you're communicating with romantic partners, with siblings or neighbors. There can be some tension that can be happening there as well. Then on the 20th of the month, the sun is entering into Gemini. So Gemini season begins. If you're, like I said, a May Gemini, happy birthday to you. And if you happen to have a Gemini rising, now the sun is crossing your ascendant. So what this is going to do is the sun energy is highlighting your communication lord in your first house. So you're going to go, boom. Now I feel like I can communicate a little bit more freely. You have better, I think, self-expression. You're more vocal about your identity. And it's definitely shining a light on you. Maybe you feel like you want to start writing or blogging or sharing. Maybe it's a time where you initiate a contract or planning a trip, something like that, right? On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Venus in Aries trine Mars in Leo. So Venus will be in the 11th house. It's going to be coming into a trine with Mars. This is beautiful. It is harmonizing your 12th, 5th, 6th lords, your 11th lords. Maybe, for some of you guys, because it's happening in fire signs, it's going to be beneficial. It's going to make you feel a little bit more social. I do think social connections will definitely spark lively debates and also collaboration. So this is a very fun energy if you want to socialize with people, mix and mingle. On the 24th of the month, we're going to see the Sun in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius. This is awesome. So from the end of the month on, things actually get really great in your chart. You're going to see personal growth aligning with big picture insights, and you're going to feel unstoppable. And a lot of this is because the sun is highlighting your own personal identity and how you're communicating and traveling. But also the trine to Pluto is saying you're feeling much more optimistic about changing your education plan, your travel plans, a legal matter. Maybe if you have a goal that, you want to write, teach, or publish something, you're starting to see that big picture kind of come together. On the 24th of the month, Saturn will enter into Aries, and it will be here for a couple of months, giving you a preview of this transit. Saturn does deal with changes, and whether that's changes financially or releasing or letting go, as well as your belief systems. So Saturn entering into Aries in the 11th house, on one hand, Saturn does well in the 11th house because it can align us with the right groups, the right friendships that have a common cause. On the other hand, this is going to require discipline now in your friendships and also in shaping your goals. So you want to build lasting networks. Some of you guys might feel like your friendships have been dwindling. You got to get out there. You got to mix, mingle, and meet new people, even if you have to do it alone. This is also a time that can be great for starting a group or starting a network or a club. So just something to kind of consider. But yes, we can have some kind of thinning out of some of our friendships with this transit. On the 25th, we're going to see Mercury enter into Gemini. So we're going to have so many things going on in Gemini. Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, all in your first house. So it's going to be like, wow, really all eyes are going to be on you. I feel like this is really going to have communication being even more emphasized. Your mind is going to shine, and you'll be able to express yourself brilliantly. So if you need to have negotiations, if you need to have presentations, if you need to be meeting with people or just kind of being front and center, this is a good time to do it. Now, on the 26th of the month, you're going to have a new moon. So this is your once a year new moon that you get. Chef's kiss astrology for your guys' chart. Personal rebirth. This is about setting intentions for your identity and how you show up for yourself. Mercury will be kind of in the mix here. So what you have to say, what you think, what's on your mind, and how you communicate is going to play a huge role. Having a morning routine, focusing on how you can share your ideas, connect, and communicate, all in a trine to Pluto in your ninth. So if you want to apply for a school, if you want to go on a trip, if you are wanting to initiate something legally, maybe you want to launch a book, these things can be very powerful and can be kind of connected to your goals and your bigger purpose throughout this next year. It's all about how you're showing up for yourself. And then on the 29th, you're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi. So this will be the Sun conjunct Mercury in your sign. Another strong communication day. Great day for contracts. You might meet somebody in your local environment. You can have a really insightful conversation with like a sibling or a neighbor, maybe even with somebody online. I feel like this is a day where you're magnetic. You want to speak with confidence. This can also be a really lucky day where you could just run into or meet somebody or have a chance kind of conversation that is going to be really, really, really beneficial for you. And you're going to be able to really shine and express like what's been on your mind. And probably feeling like also a little bit more intuitive because the cazimi is about its personal download. So if you feel like you're supposed to go somewhere, do something, call somebody, just pay attention for some of those things. All right, so that's going to be the month at a glance for you, my Gemini and Gemini risings. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for your month ahead. The card that I got is the Seven of Swords, which I'm laughing because I see the beginning of May with those planets going through your 12th house and then coming into some squares with Mars as being like, can I trust myself? Is it the right time? Do I do it? Do I say it? And that you're going back and forth like, do I do this or not? Or, is it a good time to share this information? Like, am I missing my opportunity? Am I forgetting something? Like, can I trust other people? Maybe you experience with Saturn in your 11th house that there is a situation that comes up where you're like, wow, somebody who I thought was in my corner is not in my corner, and that could be the distrust that's coming up. Certainly with Saturn and Neptune, it's whether or not you can trust your friends or whether or not you feel like they have your back. But I think it's more about the self. And I feel like, once you get to, once the sun starts trining Pluto, so from the 24th of May on, you're going to trust yourself more. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to know that now is the time to send the emails, have the meetings, communicate with people. But I think the beginning of the month, there is this sense of struggling with whether or not, you have everything together, if you're seeing things clearly, if it's going to come out the right way. So just practice some breathing techniques, do some breath work, anything that's going to be able to kind of align that for you. Obviously, you're an air sign, but the Seven of Swords does deal with stressful kind of communication themes and whether or not you should stay or go. So give it until around the 24th to start to see some of that stuff clear up, and you'll be glad that you waited. Good luck, Gemini. I hope it's a good one. I'll catch you guys back here next month. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's going on, Cancer? Welcome to May 2025. I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to chat with you. So we've got some stuff going down. Obviously, I'm always going to talk to you about the lunations. So let's just kind of get those out of the way first. We're going to have a full moon and then we're going to have a new moon. The full moon is going to be happening in Scorpio, all right? And that's going to be happening closer to, let's pull up my handy dandy notes here, the 12th. So on the 12th of the month, you'll see a full moon in Scorpio in your natal 5th house at 22 degrees. So if you have anything Cancer, sun, moon rising around, I would say 21 to 23 degrees, you'll be experiencing a trine. So it is a friendly energy for you. It will be a little bit more emotional. And also you're going to pick up a trine here to the North Node. So you'll experience a grand water trine. What can I say about this? Full moon, major conclusions or completions, right? Fifth house is going to be dealing with matters of the heart. So it's going to be connected to, your love life. It can be connected to your children. This is where I feel like there's going to be lots of passion that's going to be coming up, or creativity. Really, it's also about releasing things. Scorpio and the full moon is about releasing things. So you're releasing what no longer inspires you. You're releasing a relationship that does not resonate with you. Maybe you're seeing big glow ups and changes happening in the lives of your children. Maybe you're launching your own personal business and you're willing to take that risk. This full moon is going to be ruled by Mars as well as Pluto. And what we're going to see is that, Mars and Pluto are out of the opposition, but they're going to be making some other aspects to some things. So I do feel like this is going to be about how you're sharing something with groups of people. And maybe some intense conversations with groups of people. It can be about social things. It can be about money. But still, it's generally a good full moon for you guys. And I think that, if you want to schedule a date night, maybe you're meeting somebody, maybe it's a turning point in a creative project. These are the things I would be looking for. It is possible also with a full moon in the fifth house that this can be promoting pregnancy. So if you're a Cancer or Cancer rising that's been hoping to get pregnant, you're trying to get pregnant, this can definitely kind of come up for you in the fifth house. Then what we're going to see is later in the month, there will be a new moon in the sign of Gemini, and this is going to be on the 26th. And it'll be in your 12th house. And the 12th house we know is hidden, it's subconscious, behind the scenes, dreams, your intuition. And this particular new moon is really, for me, it kind of feels like a subtle new start. But definitely in your inner world, right? And this new moon is about focusing on your dreams and releasing blocks. Very powerful. Don't underestimate it. It is going to trine Pluto in your 8th house. So it does mean that you're kind of getting your mind on board with changes in intimacy, resources, money, joint access to resources, things like taxes, inheritance, that kind of stuff. Maybe you're communicating on a much more deeper level with your intimate relationships and partnerships. Great time to consider starting therapy because it is making some aspects to your 8th house. So if you want to go and work with a therapist, or if you're wanting to work with somebody to help address trauma or heal something, this can be a very powerful time to do that. Okay. Anything revolving around releasing blocks definitely comes up with this transit. Those are the big lunations for you for the month ahead. So we're going to start now with what's happening at the top of the month on May the 2nd, when Venus comes into conjunction with Neptune in Aries. Basically, Venus going through the 10th house, you've seen this back and forth with the Venus retrograde. Some of you guys have been falling more in love with work. Some of you guys have wanted to go back to old jobs. Some of you guys want to do something new. And Venus conjunct Neptune, your career can feel either very dreamy and whimsical and like expressive, or it can be flat out confusing. Artistic projects can shine here. You just want to make sure that you clarify your goals. And this can mean that you're finally taking some of the stuff you've been working on within your kind of private life and now making it public, because Venus is connected to the 4th. Venus also has associations with the 11th. So some of your goals when it comes to working with others, bringing something together, the vision, right, is starting to become a little bit more clear. Be careful with any proposals or agreements during this day, because people can be a little unreliable. Something can seem too good to be true, especially at work. On the 4th of the month, you're going to see Pluto station retrograde in Aquarius in your natal 8th house. So this is basically a time where you're reevaluating through the retrograde the next couple of months, shared resources, any intimacy issues coming up. Maybe you're going to pause and reflect on like a tax matter. And this is really about reflecting on trust and power, right? So trust and power when it comes to intimacy, romantic partnerships, investments, anything connected to also like stocks, bonds, those kinds of things, because it's connected to your 5th house. There can be some very unexpected kind of sudden, revealing of, somebody's true feelings, or what somebody is doing with some of your joint assets. So you can see some interesting stuff there. On the 6th of the month, Mercury will conjunct Chiron in Aries. All right, so Chiron deals with healing wounds. 10th house is in the public sphere. Mercury maybe is where you're afraid to speak out, or maybe you want to say something, but you don't know how, and you're kind of put on the spot. I do feel like this is about vulnerable career conversations, and that could be with bosses, that could be with with bosses, that could be with coworkers. That could also be that, wanting to have a closed door meeting where you can kind of discuss some things that are going on that have been concerning you. But yeah, I really feel like this is a time where, you can really heal wounds with words, and you just want to speak authentically. You want to speak with confidence, and maybe you're going to be sharing some of your concerns about what's going on in a group or a professional dynamic and how to actually make it better. On the 10th of the month, you're going to see Mercury enter into Taurus. So Mercury is about communication. It can be about revealing things. It can also be connected to like traveling and people visiting. And there's going to be a lot more communication kind of going on when it comes to your networks, your friends. So the focus is going to shift to friendships, your goals, and your aspirations. Mercury in Taurus is great for having grounded conversation with your crew, or if you're wanting to talk to groups or you're wanting to give presentations, it can be very strong for that as well. Now, on the 12th, we talked about that full moon that's going to be happening in Scorpio, so watch for that peak in creativity or romantic energy. And then on the 12th, you're going to see Mercury in Taurus square Pluto in Aquarius. So Mercury in your friendship zone squaring off with Pluto in your joint assets zone. Tension, I think, between friends and deeper commitments. It can also mean that we really need to avoid control issues, control of our friends, control of our goals. Maybe we're not saying eye to eye about a financial matter with friends. That can definitely kind of come up. And so watch for some of those tense conversations that you can kind of see in like a social setting. On the 17th of the month, you'll see the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and this will take place in your natal 11th house. I feel like this is a wild shift in your social circle. There could be a spontaneous party, a chance meeting. Maybe you meet somebody who's going to be very influential or beneficial for you. New eccentric friends can appear, right? So take a chance, go and do something fun around this day, even if it's kind of like with an unusual group of people or a different scene. I think that you will really enjoy that. And also on the 17th, Mercury will square Mars. So Mercury in your friendship zone is squaring Mars, where you're like, okay, like I'm going to go and do this thing. I'm going to be around different people. But once again, there's friction between what's going on socially and also your personal finances. Just stay calm. It's possible that you're invited to go and do something that you really want to do, and you're like, ooh, that's going to break the bank. I got invited to go and travel or to go to this like really kind of high-end party, and I don't know if I have the funds or the means to be able to kind of like keep up with some of these people. And not a good time to be talking about like money and politics and stuff in social settings as well, because there could be some meetings of the mind there. All right, on the 20th of the month, the Sun enters Gemini. So it's going to go into your 12th house where you begin your reflection period prior to going into Cancer season pretty soon here. The energy turns inward. So resting, recuperating, wanting some time alone, feeling like you need to turn inward to spiritually or subconsciously balance some things out. You can be in your head a little bit about money. There can also be a sense of you kind of doubting yourself a little bit or feeling a little insecure. So you want to catch that if that's coming up for you. But on the 22nd of the month, we're going to see Venus in your career zone in Aries trining Mars. And I feel like this is very good for work and money for you guys. This is where your career charm with Venus in the 10th house, or a woman who comes in that you collaborate with, or maybe you're finally starting to kind of put the finishing touches on some professional stuff, it is paying off. You're going to see that through taking some kind of action and being confident, it can give you more spending power. It can make you feel more abundant. It can make you more optimistic about what you have been working on, and you're going to feel like you have more access to free-flowing finances. You can spend some money here. On the 24th of the month, the Sun in Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius. So the Sun in the 12th house is releasing and letting go of something. What are you releasing of? Where you've been stressed out about money, right? Where you've been worried about whether or not you're going to be successful in some of your goals. And it's trining Pluto, which can mean that you're letting something go. So I feel like for you, sure, okay, 12th house might mean spiritual insights, transforming your psyche, and maybe doing a deep dive or doing some research. But I feel like it's about letting go of this fear that you're not going to be supported, that you're not going to be abundant, that you're not going to be successful. Maybe it's going to be about settling a debt or paying off a loan, and that could definitely be the trine to Pluto. On the 24th of the month, we're going to see Saturn enter into Aries. And obviously, this is going to be a little bit more colorful for the cardinal sign. So if you have an Aries, a Cancer sun, moon, or rising, 0 to about, let's say 3 degrees, you're going to be feeling the effects of the Saturn transit this year pretty significantly. So good news is that Saturn does very well in the 10th house. It likes to be there because it has an association with career, long-term goals, professional life, reputation. Challenge is that Saturn is squaring your ascendant. So you might feel like the weight of some of your professional responsibilities, the weight of your relationships, the weight of a significant change in your identity out in the world is on your shoulders. Also, I think that with the connection to Neptune, there is this sense of you going, I'm going to build this new thing, but is it possible? What, is it real? Can I make it real? Can I make this dream career a reality? For some of you guys, because of Saturn's connection to relationships and changes, it can mean that one job is ending because there's some financial issues or relational issues going on with your current employer or your business partner, and you're separating or dissolving that. For others, it can mean that there is a significant turning point in regards to your status. So some of you guys are getting in the driver's seat of your life going, I want the successful career. I want the committed relationship. I want to be in a very public kind of scene space. But you need allies, partnerships, and then partners that can really help you build this. And whether it's romantic support or, some professional support, that's a huge theme. Anyway, so Saturn going through there, what it wants you to do is it wants you to structure your career. It's time to start doing that. And it's about your long-term goals solidifying, but also making sure that it's not like a pipe dream. And that's the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It'll be interesting to see. It's a major building period for a lot of you guys in regards to your career. On the 25th of the month, Mercury will enter into Gemini. So Mercury is now in the 12th house. Watch those dreams because this is all about inner clarity emerging. Journaling can be great. Reflect and meditate as well. I think this is also just your mind is kind of buzzing. So you might notice that you're a little bit more intuitive than usual. Maybe you're up a little bit later than usual. Some changes with your sleep cycle can kind of happen as well. And then you'll have on the 26th, a new moon taking place in Gemini in your 12th house. And this for you is like a subtle start to, like I said, your next year. And there's going to be this shift that's going to happen subconsciously where you're like, okay, this is what I need to focus on. This is what I need to release. Powerful with that trine to Pluto. So change is the name of the game, and you got to change your mind before you can make some big emotional and physical changes. Then on the 29th of the month, you're going to see the sun Cazimi in your 12th house. An unexpected piece of information, an unexpected email, text message, phone call. Maybe you have a feeling you're going to hear from somebody, and then boom, you do. Maybe you have a download, you write it down, a really significant dream. But subconsciously, insights are going to be very strong, and this is about trusting your intuition and trusting your gut about what you should or shouldn't do, what you should say or not say. If you're feeling a little lost or confused, get a reading on this day. Maybe pull a couple of tarot cards for insight, just to kind of check with your intuition to see if what you're doing or what you're seeing is kind of like, actually going to be manifesting. Mercury can be about divination. So that's going to be the month at a glance for you guys. Let's see what the tarot says in terms of May and what to watch for. You get the 3 of coins, which I like, considering you're going to have Saturn, Neptune, and Venus in your 10th house. So there's definitely lots of work to do. 3 of coins can be talking about working as a team. And it's weird because Aries is like, I have to do everything on my own. And the truth is Saturn and Aries, where it has problems, is thinking it has to do everything on its own. It has to learn how to do something properly, but also it needs to be learning about how to have structure and routine. And this can be about bringing in the right team. This can be about being around the right people. It might mean 3 is somehow factoring into things, you and 2 other people. Or maybe you're working with increments of 3 weeks, 3 months. But team effort is the lessons here. You can't do everything by yourself. That's where you're going to get overwhelmed. And you can get very overwhelmed with planets in your 12th house. I do think that this is also about you having a plan about what you are building or creating, right? Because as we go through the pentacles, something kind of comes into final form. So think about where you want to be over the next 3 months, be working with other people, try to be supportive and complementary, and really navigate some of these changes that are coming up with your career in a way where you're bringing in the right people to help show you the way forward, right? Hope that's helpful for you, my Cancers. I'll catch you guys next month. We've got Leo and Leo rising. What's going on, Leo? Welcome to your May 2025 horoscopes. Obviously, I'm going to talk to you about all the things that are impacting you the most. One of which will be the new moon. The other one is going to be the trines between Venus and Mars in your sign. And the other one is going to be when we have the Cazimi. So those are going to be kind of the biggies for you. But the month is actually going to kick off with planets kind of, at least the Sun and Mercury and Uranus, kind of still moving through your 10th house. So there's going to be much of emphasis on work, career, responsibility, professional life. That is going to be the long and short of it until we get to the end of May. And you get to socialize a little bit more. You're going to see things that are going to be highlighting with the Sun going into your 11th house. Parties, gatherings, get-togethers, meeting people. I mean, it's going to be like super buzzing with social opportunities at the end of May. So you still have a little bit of work to get done, but you'll get there. On the 2nd of the month, you're going to see Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries. Okay, so in the 9th house in a fellow sister fire sign, you might be feeling, a little bit more inspired, especially if there's like a long-distance relationship opportunity brewing. It can mean that there are, romantic or spiritual ideas that are expanding your horizons. Maybe you're dreaming of traveling to a place. Maybe you are connecting with a new teacher or a mentor or a new kind of spiritual practice. But travel or learning feels very enchanting to you under this transit. Now, on the 4th of the month, Pluto is going to station retrograde in Aquarius, which I think is a big deal, especially if you're a Leo rising, 0 to about 4 degrees. You're under a Pluto opposition this year. And Pluto has been going through your 7th house, really applying pressure in your relationships. Whether this is to a therapist, a client, it can be with a friend, with a romantic partner, a spouse. It has been real in recent months. You have seen Mars opposing Pluto, where, you have been reevaluating what path or direction you're taking and whether or not you're on the same path as another person and if they're reluctant to change. So there's been some power struggles throughout these oppositions. Pluto is associated with your 4th house, which is about your home, your past, your roots, or your family, your living situation. So when it's retrograde in the 7th, you can reconnect with partners from the past. You can reassess where a partner factors in or works into your home life. You can be reflecting on some issues you kind of aired out in relationships, professionally, romantically, or in terms of your private life. But I feel like this is really where relationship and power dynamics are shifting inward, and it's a really good time to reassess where you stand in relationships now. Now, on the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. So this is going to be bringing up like healing conversations. Maybe in the 9th house, you are paying to, go to a seminar. Maybe you are going on a retreat. Maybe you are joining a healing group. Maybe you find an author or a teacher that is about self-help and wellness that you align with. But you're going to heal through study or talks about beliefs, basically. And this is also giving you the opportunity for some kind of growth in learning about how to better yourself. Now, on the 10th of the month, you're going to see Mercury enter into Taurus in your 10th house, which is definitely about communication and business. Career conversations are going to be a huge theme. It takes on a much more practical tone. And you're going to be focusing on your professional goals. So giving, speeches, proposals, announcements, things like that can definitely come up because it's going to be about your money and your resources and also your audience. So you might be giving like projections and be talking about business and like new projects that are kind of coming up, and you'll have people's attention. On the 12th of the month, you're going to see a full moon in Scorpio taking place at 22 degrees in your 4th house. So if you have anything 21, 22, 23 degrees, Leo, sun, moon, or rising, this full moon is going to square that. A full moon in the 4th house is definitely going to put the emphasis on family or home dynamics, and I think it can be really peaking emotionally. This is about resolving any deep feelings about your roots. This can also be buying homes, selling homes, moving, some big change happening within the family. Well, at the time of this particular full moon, there will be Mercury square Pluto. So Mercury is going to be in your work zone and it's squaring Pluto. And Pluto rules the 4th house. So it means that when you have a full moon highlighting your private life versus your public life dynamic, it means that you might have to share something with other people, or you might have to talk to a business partner. You might have to tell, people publicly, hey, this is this battle that I've been going through, or this is what I've been dealing with my living situation, or this is something that happened to my family. And you're sharing that in a way. So you'll be able to kind of talk about your feelings, but watch for the intensity that can kind of happen at home as well, and confronting issues with people at home. On the 12th of the month, we're also going to see Mercury square Pluto. So, the career versus relationship tension and really balancing your ambition with connection. And then on the 17th, you're going to see the Sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus. And this is an important day because you're ruled by the Sun. So basically, there might be some big announcement. And it can mean I quit my job, I'm launching a business, I'm separating, I'm getting married. There's some big public decision that will be visible, okay? You're the Sun, Uranus is other people. It can also mean that there is a bit of friction that's going on with you and another person where you're kind of, duking it out in a public way. You're getting kind of challenged. I've been watching Taurus risings that I know go through this, where people are just constantly attacking them. And now they're feeling like they have to kind of show up and, be the boss. So a sudden career twist can happen, right? So launching something, leaving, starting something. I would say embrace innovation for success. You might want to look at what's happened the last couple of years when you had a Sun-Uranus connection. Was there a big change with your work? Did something shift with a relationship? What happened here? And where were you kind of freeing yourself or breaking out of old professional identities? Now, on the 17th, you're also going to see Mercury in your career house square Mars. Okay, so that means that you're feeling tested. You're supposed to be communicating and trying to be peaceful and patient and diplomatic, but you get triggered, you get angry, and you get upset about something because there's some kind of friction between your career goals and your personal expression. Channel that energy very wisely, friends. Some people are going to try to get your goat and they're going to try to get a reaction out of you, and it can definitely be very combative if you're not careful. Now, what I do like is on the 20th, the Sun is going to enter Gemini. So it's now you get a little bit of a break. You can focus on the energy shifting to friendships, focusing on your goals, socializing, going out and doing things, having fun, talking to your friends, meeting other people, and being active in terms of your audience. So if you have to give proposals, if you have to share things, if you're on social media, you're going to be really focused on that. And on the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Venus in Aries come into a trine with Mars in your sign. So Venus in the 9th house of higher mind, foreign travel, people in other lands, teaching, education, traveling is aligning with Mars. So this is a really beautiful energy for you. I feel like adventure can definitely be the theme. Maybe passion is igniting, your spirit in some way. And bold moves really feel natural for you around the 22nd. Now, on the 24th, then we're going to see the Sun in Gemini come into a trine with Pluto in your 7th house, which is also a very beneficial trine for you. The 11th house is friendships and goals. The 7th house is relationships. So friendships and partnerships deepen through communication. There can be powerful changes in alliances. There could be people who are stepping up to bat for you. New friends that you're making that are really positively changing and transforming something about your relationships. And if you're going through some relationship turbulence, you're going to have friends that are going to be there to kind of help pick up the pieces and support you. And they may be guiding you or giving you some kind of advice in some way. Definitely socializing makes way for meeting new people as well. And then on the 24th of the month, you're going to be seeing Saturn entering into Aries. If you happen to be a Leo rising, I would say 0 to about 2 or 3 degrees, this is actually beneficial for you. It's not necessarily a negative transit. It will be trining your sun, moon, or rising, which means it's going to provide some sense of new commitment, authority, assertiveness, and responsibility. Saturn is associated with your committed relationships, marriages, and partnerships. It's also connected to your work, your habits, and your daily routine. So Saturn trine the ascendant strengthens in many ways. I feel like this is also about discipline now being applied to your beliefs or your studies. If you've ever wanted to go and get a higher education or degree, if you have wanted to publish a book, if you feel like you need to talk to an attorney for legal matters, if you want to travel to a foreign land, all of these things can kind of become some of the themes relating to the 9th house over the next couple of years. So you want to pursue wisdom with structure. I have found when Saturn goes into the 9th house, usually a teacher appears or a mentor appears. So watch for that person. They might be popping up. And it might not necessarily be connected to traditional education. It could be you're learning something new, and it can be about health, habits, routines, even relationships. So it doesn't have to be, kind of like reformed education. Kind of keep in mind that Saturn and Aries in the ninth house is what you're learning about health and wellness, what you're learning about yourself. On the 25th of the month, Mercury enters Gemini. So now we've got Mercury and the Sun and Jupiter in the 11th house. Really great for just social connections. I feel like this is very chatty. So it's good for networking and brainstorming, meeting people online, talking to people about money, resources, values. It can also be a time where there's invitations, there's parties, there's get-togethers, gatherings. Like, you're going to see how busy the end of this month is going to be. And it'll all come with ease. You're not going to have to do much. On the 26th of the month, we're going to have a new moon in this house, in the sign of Gemini. So it's fresh energy for friendships or goals, connecting with your crew or dreaming big. The fact that the new moon is going to technically sextile you by sign, and it's also going to be trining Pluto, I feel like is a wonderful restart where if you're single and you want to meet somebody, you're just committing to going out and mingling. You're not looking for a relationship. You're just socializing. Also, it can be great for incorporating existing relationships into some of your social kind of setups. And, in any way, shape, or form, the 11th house is about our wishes. So trines to Pluto, if you're wishing for, changes in a relationship, if you're wishing to meet a new business partner, more clients, a new romantic partner, like, you can do that with that trine. So it's very good for not just improving your social relationships, but also your romantic relationships as well. And then on the 29th of the month, we're going to see the Sun-Mercury Cazimi, where the Sun will conjunct Mercury in the sign of Gemini, which is important for you because you're ruled by the Sun. What do I think is going to happen here? I think there's going to be an important meeting. I think that you're going to get invited to a group. I think that you're going to see some kind of fulfillment of a wish. I think that there's going to be an opportunity to meet somebody who can really help you grow financially or in terms of your self-esteem. But some chance meeting or invitation is likely going to be happening here. So watch for social clarity, definitely peaking. And also your ideas resonating with other people. Other people are going to be like, yeah, that's that. I do like that. Yes. Like, I do want to be involved in that, or I do want to join that cause. So you can definitely have a really interesting group of people that you can kind of mixing and mingling with. Hope that's helpful for you, Leo. Here are the tarot predictions for the month of May. So what you want to be watching for. And the card that I get is the Knight of Pentacles. So keep an eye out for maybe a Taurus, a Virgo, a Capricorn. But I think that this is actually connected to the Sun-Mercury connection because Mercury deals with money. Okay, this deals with money. So messages coming, might take a little bit of time to negotiate something or get clarity or be able to confirm that something is going to go through. But I think it's going to be good money moves. I think that there's going to be financial goals that you guys are going to be able to crush. It might mean that this is a time where, you were waiting for the right person or the right kind of connection to come in to help you through some of your most recent kind of financial changes. But I do feel like if you're patient, it is going to pay off. And I know you guys have been very patient. So I'm curious to see what May does for you guys with those transits through your 10th house, where you're really seeing some things change when it comes to your career momentum. Good luck. I'll catch you guys back here next month. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. Welcome to May 2025. I hope you guys are doing well. And as I told Gemini, you guys have a lot of Mercury things that are going to be happening for you this month. So pay attention whenever there's a Mercury conjunction, a square, a cazimi, whatever. It impacts you because you're Mercury. So I can't really give you one because there is a lot of them. The other thing that I would say to be kind of paying attention to is that there is going to be a ton of planets that are going to be moving through Gemini. Okay, Mercury, Sun, Jupiter, all going through Gemini. And this basically means that it is going to be squaring you by sign, okay? So the 10th house is going to be your career, your reputation, your public life, your, professional stuff. And now that it's squaring you, it means that it's time for you to show up. There is more responsibility, or there's more kind of eyes on you. So it might feel like this is a month that is primarily work for the most part, or preparing to work. Actually, the sun's going to start in the 9th and it's going to go into the 10th. And the bigger picture in regards to your career related things are going to be the setup. All right. Okay. So we're going to start at the beginning of the month on the 2nd of May. You're going to see Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries in your natal 8th house. Woof. Be careful here, okay? Because there can be financial scams. There can be feelings of disappointment. There can be this feeling also that something that you thought you were going to get, you're not sure if you're going to get it. Venus rules your money and your values and your self-esteem. And it's also connected to traveling and education. So if you're somebody who's like, I had hopes that I was going to have the money to, pay for the vacation this month, or I had hopes that the student loans were going to be forgiven, or that I was going to have the loan go through, there could be some disappointment. On the other hand, intimacy feels dreamy or elusive. It depends on what you got going on in your love life. Watch for blurred values, blurred boundaries, and shared resources. That's something that you guys want to watch out for. Like, if somebody's saying, hey, I took some money out of the account, or I'm, just borrowing something, I'll put it back, or you notice something goes missing, or there's something off about money, that will definitely come up with this conjunction. Okay. On the 4th of the month, you're going to see Pluto station retrograde, and it's going to turn retrograde in Aquarius in your 6th house. And this is dealing with work or health transformations. There could be some big changes going on with like your schedule, your office space. There could be changes with staff. So people could be kind of coming or going during this time. Pluto rules your kind of mind and your mental state and communication. So I do think that some work situations may slow down, but that's because it's not actually beneficial or it's not functional. It might also mean it's a time to really reflect on how much you're working, your habits, your routines, and what needs to change and the way that you're thinking about some of these things and how they need to shift. Watch your health during this transit as well. On the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. All right. So this is definitely an ouch transit for me Virgo risings because Mercury is you. And it's also going to be connected to work. And when Mercury conjuncts Chiron in the 8th house, it could mean there is some disappointment revolving around, well, I thought my job or my status or my title was going to change. I thought I was going to get the bonus. I thought I was going to, make more money. Can also mean that there's some difficulties that you're kind of talking about with your partner about financial situations. So if they're saying, hey, I've been, paying the bills, I can't do it much longer, I'm tired, or hey, I'm having a change in my resources, how that's impacting you and how you guys actually do life together. Watch for healing talks about, trust or these shared resources. Being vulnerable and talking about it can definitely be beneficial. Dealing with like health insurance matters, disability, unemployment, that can also be a theme as well with the conjunction of Chiron in the 8th. Then on the 10th of the month, Mercury is going to enter Taurus. So your chart ruler changes signs. It goes into the 9th house in a fellow earth sign. So it's going to be a little bit easier to navigate if you're a Virgo rising. Because you'll experience trines at some point from Mercury in your 9th house to your 1st. However, the 9th house deals with learning, okay? So it deals with learning, it deals with traveling, your beliefs, and some kind of grounded exploration begins. So sometimes you find yourself in this transit being like, I'm booking a flight, or I am, going to be taking a test, or I'm going to be applying for a visa, or I'm going to school. Meeting with like a teacher or a mentor can be a theme here as well. And this is about shifting your perspective on your beliefs about money, your beliefs about value and pleasure. You will see on the 12th that there is going to be a full moon in Scorpio in your 3rd house, which is going to be highlighting communication, short distance trips, contracts, what's going on with your mind, how you're thinking and how you're communicating, as well as like siblings and neighbors, sometimes vehicles here as well. So with this full moon in the 3rd house, communication hits some kind of transformative peak. And there's a powerful conversation that might come up that really shifts your frame of mind. During this particular full moon, you're going to see Mercury, your chart ruler, in Taurus in a square with Pluto. And Pluto rules the moon. So this is really important because I feel like for you, this is where there is some clash between the 9th and the 6th house. This is going to be where beliefs clash with your daily duties. Maybe, you're wanting to travel and there's some stuff that's going down at work or with coworkers. Maybe you have some philosophical differences or beliefs in regards to people who you're working with. Maybe there is some difficult conversations that are kind of coming up about, responsibility and, who needs to do what. And you're learning a lot of lessons from this. I do think that it's all about adjusting your perspective and watching for intense communication that could be going down with people at work. Now, on the 17th of the month, you're going to see Uranus come into conjunction with the sun in Taurus in your 9th house. So it'll be in a fellow sister sign, obviously, so it can be a little bit easier to navigate. But to me, this is like a sudden shift in travel plans, an unexpected plot twist or change. Maybe there's a shift in your worldview. This is about embracing the unexpected. Some of you guys might feel like you just want to run away, or, you just want to kind of take a couple of days off, or you want to kind of have some freedom to, go away and travel. You can do that. That might actually kind of give you a little bit of like peace and opportunity to reevaluate. But I do think for the most part, because on the very same day, because Mercury will then square Mars, just running away is not necessarily the answer. It won't help you. You're going to find that there is this tension between big ideas as well as your inner kind of restlessness. So you want to stay grounded. Maybe it's a day that you just want to kind of take it easy around that sun conjunct Uranus, given that, and also like the square between Mercury and Mars. Okay. On the 20th of the month, the sun enters Gemini. So now there is focus on career, responsibility, work showing up. And this is highlighting your career and your public life. And this can mean that things that you have not wanting to be facing or dealing with, now you have to deal with it because the sun is involved, and you're dealing also with where there's been some challenges or upheaval, or like people who you feel like have been working kind of against you. And now you can kind of overcome some of that. And then on the 22nd of the month, Venus in Aries will trine Mars. Kind of behind the scenes, but definitely still very passionate. I like the Venus-Mars trines in general, but with the 8th and the 12th house, these are traditionally water houses. So passion's going to flow in private or spiritual realms. Maybe there's deep romantic connections that are thriving, but it's mysterious, it's hidden, and nobody really knows kind of what's going on between you and another person behind the scenes. On the 24th of the month, we're going to see the sun in your 10th house come into a trine with Pluto. And honestly, this is a day to really take charge. This is a day to get a lot of work done, to feel empowered by the changes, and be seeking people who can really help you professionally. This trine is all about, highlighting your career and your public life. And it's kind of bringing up the themes where if you're focused, right? If your career and your work align powerfully in your focus, this can really pay off. You can be very productive. Can also mean that there is the end of one phase of your career and the beginning of another. So it might mean that you're upgrading to a new status, a new title, a new department, quitting a job, taking a new job. And you're going to want to be working with a team or an office or a schedule that's going to be really supporting you and helping you get more done. All right. Then we're going to see on the 24th of the month, we will also experience the Saturn entering into Aries. So now we've got Saturn moving into your 8th house, which is kind of shadowy and hidden. Saturn's finishing up, its role this year in your 7th house of relationships. And now it's going into the house that deals with taxes, inheritances, and intimacy, endings, beginnings, and joint money. So Saturn's connected to children, romance, and creativity. It's also connected to, service and helping others and things relating to health. So quite literally, this can mean that now there's going to be a focus on, changes with health insurance, changes with benefits, changes with your partner's money. Structure comes to shared resources or intimacy. And this is about building trust and building real intimacy slowly over time. Saturn can also be relating to health. So it can mean that, you're focusing on your own personal health. So maybe you're investing in your health, you're learning more about health, you're quitting a habit. Maybe you're getting into therapy. Maybe you're doing some kind of like rehabilitation of some sort. And Saturn is kind of dancing with Neptune. So there is a sense of like really needing to focus on, okay, what's going on in my joint finances? Is my partner going through a period of where they're having some tension or they're doubting themselves? And like, how does that impact my inner security? So that's definitely going to be an interesting time to kind of watch, especially if you're an early Virgo rising, because it's in conjunct or quincunx your ascendant. And it's also sextiling Pluto. So it's making a yod to your ascendant if you're early degree, which is saying like you have to change your work, health, or habits. And also you need to be more aware of what's going on emotionally or psychologically and how that can be kind of bringing up some healing issues for you personally or changes with your body. On the 25th of the month, we're going to see Mercury enter Gemini. So now it's all going to be communication, responsibility, focusing on work, and maybe even professional clarity arriving for some of you guys. I do think that this is great for pitching ideas or just leading more confidently in the work zone. You're going to find the next day when you have a new moon in Gemini that this is basically a career reset. So you have a very powerful opportunity to set intentions for your professional growth, your public image, starting new jobs, launching new ventures. And not only is Mercury involved in this new moon because it's very close and it's in its domicile and its home sign, but it's also going to trine Pluto in your 6th. So it's wonderful for, I'm taking charge of my health, I'm taking charge of my habits, I'm managing a new schedule, I have a new office, there's a new team, or anything revolving around just getting your mind on board with powerful change in your work is going to be very beneficial. So I think you guys will like that one, to be honest with you. And then right after that, on the 29th, you're going to have a Sun-Mercury cazimi. So what's interesting is the Sun trine Pluto can mean literally ending of one phase of work, beginning of a new. So a job ends, you have a new job, or you're taking a new job, you're creating a job. And with the Sun conjunct Mercury, it can mean that that's when you're finding out, a boss is stepping down, or the company is closing, or this is when I give my resignation, because the Sun is going to be about kind of highlighting where you're kind of letting something go. Could there be some drama at work? Sure, but there could also be great career. It can be a great career day. It could be a time where, your ideas shine. Maybe you're in the spotlight for something you've been working on behind the scenes. Now you make it public. It can also be a time where you're getting like recognition for a job well done, but it is possible there's going to be a prominent change with a man or some kind of head person at the office if you work for like an office job. So you might find like, so-and-so is leaving, and it's like, where does that put more responsibility on you suddenly because of that change? Watch for insightful, conversations and chance opportunities maybe to kind of have some growth in your career. All right, guys. Well, that was May in a nutshell. So let me pull a card for you and talk about what you're going to be experiencing in the month of May. The card that you get is the Wheel of Fortune. This is a card of positive things, the things changing for the better. Pretty soon, Uranus is going to go into your 10th house too. So you guys are definitely going to have some changes. But I think with like a new moon in the same sign as Jupiter and the Wheel of Fortune coming up, which has associations with that, can mean that positive change is on the horizon. Good things are coming your way. There's going to be lucky coincidences and things that are going to happen this month where you have the opportunity to shine. And I would say welcome some of this change. Yes, change can be difficult. I know that sometimes Virgos like to kind of be super focused on, how everything's going to go. But some of the things that are changing are outside of your control. And if you can move with the change and you can embrace it, you're going to find that it's going to give you more opportunities for travel, more opportunities for joy, and also just, I think, having a lot of growth in your professional life. Hope that was helpful for you, Virgo, and I will catch you guys back here next month. What's up, Libra and Libra rising? Welcome to your May 2025 horoscopes. I hope you guys are doing well. Excited to chat with you about what's going on for the month ahead. As you guys know, you're ruled by Venus, so just something to kind of be aware of. Venus is actually coming out of her shadow period this month, so you're not going to see any of the impacts and the effects of the most recent Venus retrograde, where you've been reassessing matters of the heart when it comes to your relationships, allies, or partnerships. Venus is going to continue to move through Aries this month, so it is a great time, whether you're a single Libra rising or you're partnered, to focus on finding pleasure and connecting with other people. Diplomacy and also togetherness is like a huge theme while Venus is in your 7th house. The other thing to think about also is that we are going to be seeing some Mars-Venus trines, so that's going to improve relationships with other people, both socially as well as romantic relationships, and possibly open the door for connecting and collaborating with others and meeting new people. So nice aspects that we're going to be seeing for the most part with Venus this month. However, right out the gate at the beginning of the month, you are going to see Venus come into conjunction with Neptune. So I want you to think about what's been happening for the better part of the last 2 months throughout this most recent Venus retrograde, where maybe there's been somebody from the past that's come back. Maybe there's been some back and forth with an existing relationship. Maybe there has been this sense of not knowing exactly who or what it is that you want. So when Venus comes into conjunction with Neptune in your 7th house, relationships can definitely feel very magical. They can feel like a cosmic kind of love story is playing out. But it can also bring somebody in that you're not seeing so clearly, or maybe there is some haziness revolving around relationships. There can be a tendency also with Venus conjunct Neptune to idealize a partner, or maybe even like cloud reality in some ways. So when it comes to taking on a new therapist or taking on a new committed relationship, just be mindful, stay grounded, and give a little bit of time for this to kind of shake out. I'm sure Saturn coming into your 7th house later in the month is going to give you a little bit more seriousness and commitment in relationships. Venus also deals with money as well. So it can mean that there is some back and forth revolving around money and resources and other people. Now, on the 4th of the month, we're going to see that Pluto is going to turn retrograde in the sign of Aquarius in your 5th house. As Pluto has been moving through your 5th house, this has all been about creative or romantic power. Maybe there has been lots of things changing revolving around joy and creativity, or in the lives of your romantic partners or children. It is possible that this could be a bit of like a dramatic pause where you're being asked to really reevaluate what it is that inspires you, reconnections with old romantic partners, reassessing also themes revolving around children, and taking chances are expected with this Pluto retrograde. Now, on the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with Chiron and Aries in your 7th house. Mercury transits are really important this year because the South Node is in Virgo, so it's going to represent sorting out the past, healing things, overcoming challenges with work, habits, and health. And it is your 12th house lord. So if there have been some things going on that you have been afraid to talk about, afraid to discuss, if there has been some painful situations in relationships that have been playing out, now they can kind of come up in conversation. You can also get some kind of clarity or healing from your dreams. But healing conversations with partners are encouraged. This is about addressing old wounds together and working through some blind spots. Perfect time to be able to, I think, overcome some challenges in committed relationships, gain some clarity as to where partners have been confused and where they've been, and also be working with a therapist or an astrologer because they can help guide you through some of these relational issues. Now, on the 10th of the month, Mercury is then going to enter into Taurus. It will go into your 8th house of joint income, intimacy, and other people's money. This can mean that you're trying to get clarity revolving around just exactly where you stand on a financial matter, handling taxes, or anything kind of connecting to benefits, bonuses, insurance, that kind of stuff comes up. So it is possible that there's going to be more of a focus on finances or self-worth. That can definitely be peaking. I also feel like this can be about matters relating to intimacy, and practical talks or deeper bonds can actually be found throughout this Mercury transit. What you're going to see on the 12th of May is two pretty impactful transits. The first one is going to be a full moon that you're going to have in Scorpio in your 2nd house of your personal finances and possessions. So sometimes when you have a full moon here, it means that you're really having to focus on your self-esteem. You're having to ground your energy. You're more focused on your finances, what you're buying, what you have access to, and also personal possessions. So if you go back to 6 months ago when you had a new moon in Scorpio, now this is showing you the conclusion and the completion of what you've been working towards financially. At the time of this full moon, yes, we see sometimes there's a big purchase, or there's sometimes money that kind of comes due. And there's also this theme revolving around trying to kind of close something up or wrap something up. And I think it's about emotional clarity revolving around what is yours? What do you value the most? At the time of this full moon, Mars, the ruler, is going to be in Leo. So it can be kind of what you value the most in terms of creative collaborations, friends. And you're also going to have Mercury in Taurus in your 8th house coming into a square with Pluto, the other ruler. So tricky conversations can come up on the 12th where there's conflict between the 8th house and the 5th house. And it basically means that there's tension between your shared resources and also personal joy. So you're trying to kind of strike the balance between, what am I paying for? What am I getting from other people? And what's going to make me happy? Definitely lots of themes revolving around conversations about intimacy as well as investments and even stuff that's connected to money due or money owed, connected to children. So it could be like spousal support, child support, themes revolving around insurance, how insurance and joint resources is connected to children. That stuff can happen as well. Now, what you will see on the 17th is the sun will conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus, and this is an anything goes day in regards to joint finances. The sun represents your goals, and also it can be about gains, and the connection to Uranus in the 8th house is shocking and surprising. So I'm kind of predicting that there could be a sudden shift in intimacy or finances, and this is a change that likely is going to feel very liberating and very exciting. But still, 8th house can mean that something changing with your partner's money. Maybe there's an unexpected windfall. Maybe somebody is just very generous with you on this day. On the 17th, we will also see Mercury in Taurus square Mars in Leo. So Mercury in your joint finances house of privacy and intimacy is coming into a square with Mars in the house of friendships, as well as networking, socializing, and there can be some tension that can kind of be brewing where there's friction between deep commitments and also your social goals. I do anticipate there can be some power struggles that's going on over joint income, group collaborations, and also financial goals. So mixing money and friendship doesn't really work on this day. On the 20th of May, you're going to see the sun enter into the sign of Gemini, moving into a sister air sign. So at some point for my Libras and Libra risings, it will be trining your sun, moon, or rising. And it's highlighting your 9th house where the energy is turning to anything connected to learning, travels, belief, higher education, teaching groups of people, traveling, all of that stuff gets kind of highlighted. And you're a little bit more optimistic when the sun is in the 9th house. Now, on the 22nd of the month, we're going to see the Mars-Venus trine. So Venus will be moving through your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. So whether it's with a client or a romantic partner, or even just with a support system, Venus is trining Mars. So this is a really great day for relationships and friendships. They're going to harmonize. There's lots of social charm that soars. Maybe you're able to offer a product or a service to a group of people. Maybe this means that through socializing, you end up meeting someone. You can introduce romantic partners to friends and vice versa. So I really encourage you guys to get out and socialize on the 22nd. On the 24th of the month, the sun will come into a trine with Pluto in Aquarius. So the sun is in the 9th house. It will be trining Pluto in the 5th house. And if you're an early degree Libra rising, you'll be experiencing a grand air trine. Basically, this is where learning and creativity can deepen. So we're learning through the 5th house. We're learning through the 9th house, and we are creating through the 5th house. So, this is about exploring your creative passions boldly. This is about going in a new direction, maybe planning a holiday, getting out of town, something about learning, connecting to creativity or children can also be emphasized here as well. Great communication kind of time. On the 24th, we're also going to see Saturn enter into Aries. So it's going to be moving into your 7th house, your opposite sign, Libra. Something to kind of think about here is that Saturn and Neptune are moving side by side in 2025 until they come into a conjunction in February of 2026. Saturn represents your home, your family, your living situation, as well as children and creativity and self-expression or romantic partners. So this means that you're confronting 7th house, or you're looking at deeper commitments and bonds when it comes to relationships and how it correlates to your home base, where you're living, where you're moving to, finally kind of clearing up issues of the past, and then also children and, creativity, happiness can also factor into committed relationships as well. If you happen to be a 0 to about 2 degree Libra, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to have Saturn and Neptune opposing these aspects. And to be honest with you guys, it can be really difficult to see people very clearly when you're under this kind of opposition with these two planets. However, Saturn is here to bring structure. So it's here to bring structure to partnerships. Commitment is going to be the focus. So it might mean that if you're a single Libra rising, you're more focused on getting out and meeting people. If you're committed, there could be real tests going on in existing relationships, which will be the theme pretty much all year. It's also a wonderful time to be confronting deep-seated issues within the home or the family, working with a therapist, or booking an appointment with an astrologer, because the 7th house can represent these people that can kind of assist you. Now you're trying to kind of see more seriously and clearly about where your relationships are heading and how to maybe better deal with where relationships are kind of projecting onto you or people aren't taking accountability for some of their behavior. Then you're going to see on the 25th of the month, Mercury will enter into Gemini and it will move into your 9th house. So this is where mental clarity or studies or anything relating to travel is going to come up. International travel, foreign lands, communicating, connecting with people in foreign places. It can also be a wonderful time for making plans connecting to a future trip. Working with a teacher or a mentor can kind of happen here as well. Definitely share your insights. You might be a little bit more philosophical about your thoughts or your belief systems or your spiritual practice. Now you're going to see on the 26th of the month, you will then have a new moon here. This will be a new moon in Gemini, which is a beautiful new moon. Part of it is because this new moon does have Mercury involved. So we are kind of opening up to new ways of thinking, new things that we can be believing, new things we can be studying, and new places that you would consider kind of going to. This will trine you by sign, especially if you're an early degree Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And it's also trining Pluto in Aquarius. So you will get a grand air trine. So for me, this looks a little bit like you're beginning a journey of learning or expanding your beliefs. Pretty soon, later in the summer, Uranus is going to go into your 9th house. So this could mean that you get, a little bit more adventurous when it comes to creativity and self-expression. Maybe you're going to start learning about a new belief system or a new philosophy. Set intentions for adventure. So planning travel or education after this new moon is very beneficial. And it's all about things that are going to really help you express yourself or experience more love with trines to Pluto. And then on the 29th of the month, you're going to see the Sun conjunct Mercury in Gemini. Well, this will be a Mercury cazimi. Well, Mercury is connected to subconscious, foreign lands, dreams, things that are kind of hidden or private in nature. And it's also connected to your higher mind. So when it connects with the Sun, I see it as an opportunity where some kind of wisdom comes through for you. Maybe you're able to kind of share your beliefs or your vision with other people, particularly an audience, or it's something that you can kind of share with a creative group. Maybe it's an opportunity for traveling and connecting with friends or people coming to kind of visit you. And this is also going to open the door to maybe being a part of new groups that are going to be about education or learning. For the most part, Libra, I would say it's a pretty good month on tap. Maybe just be mindful of the Saturn-Neptune energy now that's in your 7th house, which does put relationships in the focus. And let's see what the tarot says for the month ahead for you. I love this. You get the Queen of Swords. That's you, Libra. Speaking your truth, right? Speaking your truth, being direct and kind of diplomatic, intelligent, communicative. This can be about a Libra. It can also be about a Gemini or an Aquarius. But I think this is about really connecting to your thoughts and your ideas and being able to refine them. So definitely with planets going through the 9th house, that can be great for if you're needing to write something, if you want to publish something, if you're wanting to teach something. That can be a theme, but it can also mean that there's somebody who's coming in that's working with you to kind of better hone in on your vision and what you're hoping to achieve when it comes to your life in general. It's not limited to just your career or your relationships. This is just helping you make sense of things. And if you're feeling a little lost, definitely with Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house, I encourage working with another person who can be a coach, a mentor, a teacher, a trainer, a therapist, an astrologer, somebody who can kind of help have your back and get a little bit more insight in terms of where it is that you want to go. Hope that's helpful for you, Libra. I'll catch you guys back here next month. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's going on, Scorpio? Welcome to your May 2025 horoscope. I hope you guys are well. We're going to be talking all things, obviously, Pluto and Mars. And there is a number of Pluto-Mars related things that are going to be kind of going on this month. Most of them are going to really be about reevaluation, how you deal under pressure and what you're reevaluating. First things first, we are going to see that Pluto, one of your chart rulers, is going to turn retrograde. So it'll be about 5 months or so that Pluto is going to be retrograde in Aquarius. If you happen to be a Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising between 0 and 4 degrees, you're under a Pluto square this year. So it means that you're being asked to kind of evolve under pressure. So you might feel like there's a bit of like a pressure cooker thing kind of going on. Essentially, on the 4th, when this retrograde happens, this is going to be about your home and family, or some kind of power dynamic within your home and family shifting inward. So you're reflecting on the past, you're reflecting on your roots, where you've lived, what you want to change emotionally, what's changing with your private life. And recently, over the last couple of months, we have seen Mars and Pluto kind of in tight opposition with each other, where Scorpio risings have felt like something's got to give. Either they have to get back into the spotlight or be focusing on work or career, or they're going back into their private home life and like their cocoon. And now this is going to start to break. So if you've been wanting to free yourself from the past, if you've been wanting to move, renovate, make changes in your home life, this can give you the opportunity to reassess those things. The other thing that's important is that we are going to see both trines as well as squares to Mars. So I think you're going to like the trine a little bit better. Personally, I think it's going to be really great for work and productive stuff and for being busy. But the squares are where you're going to run into some communication challenges. That's going to be happening with relationships, partners, or clients. So just be mindful of that. The other thing is that there will be a full moon that's happening in your sign this month. So we'll talk about that, but you get a full moon in your sign once every year. And this is a full moon that goes back 6 months in time to the fall of 2024, where you are planting seeds revolving around who you are, what your goals are, what you are hoping to achieve. All right, so on the 2nd of the month, we're going to see Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries. And Venus rules relationships. Venus also is directly connected to what is subconscious or hidden or things that you didn't see coming. So in the 6th house, it can mean that there's hidden relationship or relational issues that are now coming into the forefront. And it's about how it's impacting your health, how it's impacting your schedule. Maybe you're realizing that there's somebody who you thought you were kind of cool with at work that you're not. Maybe it means that you're making a change or a sacrifice to your schedule, and it kind of comes out of left field. So you can see like meetings that get rescheduled, right? Or something like that happens. Work or health can feel dreamy or confusing. This is also about finding a way to have a more creative routine that can be inspiring, but not over idealizing things. Adopting animals and pets can be another thing that you can see, and possibly, somebody at work making some errors where you're feeling like you have to do cleanup crew and you have to do a little bit more work than anticipated. Like I said, on the 4th, Pluto is going to turn retrograde in your 4th house, reassessing the home life. And then on the 6th, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries in the 6th house. Well, Mercury deals with joint income, resources, taxes, your partner's money, as well as goals and anything relating to friends and allies. So one thing you're going to want to watch is like the 6th house definitely deals with work or wellness. And when it comes into conjunction with Chiron, we want to address any lingering pain, any lingering health issues, any lingering miscommunication issues with people at work. It is really important to pay attention to the South Node because the South Node is connected to Mercury. So it makes me feel like there are some people at work that you just gel with, and there's some people at work that are like not your people, they're not your friends, and it might make it feel a little uncomfortable working together if there is some friction. Maybe there's other people at work that feel that way, and so it's kind of starting to come up in a way. Then you're going to see on the 10th of the month, Mercury is going to enter into Taurus in your 7th house. And the month actually starts off with the sun also in your 7th house. There's like a lot of like relational things, partnership stuff that's going on. But when Mercury was into the 7th, there is a focus on relationships and communication within relationships. It could be clients. It's also business. It's transactional. Mercury here is very grounded. It's great for communication and also strengthening the bonds in relationships. So you might be able to communicate more about what it is that you want in relationships and work with other people. On the 12th is when we're going to have that full moon that's going to be in your sign. So if you have anything in Scorpio, like 21, 22, 23 degrees, the full moon is going to be smack dab on that part of your chart. So pay attention. Obviously, a full moon in the 1st house is about deep personal peaks. So what have you been really focused on for the last 6 months? What physical, personal changes have you been working on? This is where your identity shines. Having the moon in your 1st house, you might be a little bit more emotional than usual. And I feel like for some of you guys, there is like a sense of you're shedding old skin, right? So you're releasing old selves. It might feel intense with the moon in your sign, But what I like about this full moon is that it is going to be making some trines to the North Node. So it can mean like matters of the heart are coming full circle. It could also be for some Scorpio and Scorpio risings that there is a huge emotional shift revolving around your inner child, your romantic life, children. It could also mean pregnancy. So just kind of keep that in mind that you're going to wear your heart on your sleeve, but this is a big turning point for you personally. Then you're going to see on the 12th, something that's going to happen that is a little tricky is Mercury is going to be in your 7th house of relationships, where there's lots of communication with partners. And it's going to be coming into a square with Pluto. And Pluto is the ruler of this moon, obviously, so is Mars. But this tells me that there is some relationship versus kind of family tension. To, break away from the tension, you want to communicate clearly. You want to watch for where there's like disputes going on with either like roommates or family, or where a partner is like not totally satisfied with something that's going on at home. On the 17th of the month, you're going to see the sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And this is a time where it's like other people are going to be acting a little erratically. So this is about a wild shift in partnerships. Expect surprises in love or business. The sun does deal with your status and also your career and your identity. So it can mean that people come in that can wildly impact who you are, who you're partnered with, what you're doing for work. It could be a surprise chance meeting or maybe even a new client that can kind of come in. On the 17th, we will also see Mercury in the same house, the 7th, will come into a square with Mars in Leo. So not only is like there a sense of like some unexpected change with another person, but they're communicating or they're kind of going back and forth with you in a tense manner because you're Mars, where there's friction that's now brewing between relationships and career. And you're like, I'm trying to balance both. I'm trying to make everybody happy. Kind of is reminiscent of the Mars-Pluto opposition that you've been having in recent months, where you've been kind of pulled between what's going on with work and what's going on with home. And as planets have come into your Taurus 7th house, it's been about people who help you sort through this and figure out what is the best path forward for where you're living or what's going on with family matters. What direction should you take in your career, or partners or relationships or allies might be kind of helping you in some way. All right, so then you're going to see on the 20th of the month, the sun enters Gemini. So the sun is now in your 8th house, which is dealing with the shadow self. This is about reevaluation, rebirth, and where Scorpios experience the most change is when they have a change of mind. They shift their mindset. They're more open-minded, or they're open to considering other options. So this is going to really deepen anything in regards to shared resources, transformation, investments, inheritances, taxes, and there could be some big changes in how you're communicating at work or in a professional setting, connection to the sun. On the 22nd of the month is a great day for you. This is when you're going to have Venus in Aries in your work house coming into a trine with Mars in your career house. So work passion with Venus in the 6th house is really boosting your career. I feel like things are going to flow smoothly. If you're looking to go on a job interview, if you're looking to interview a new person, for your business, if you're wanting to give a presentation, make a connection with people, have a meeting, this is a really wonderful time to be able to do that. And love can be found in the work or professional realm if you're a single Scorpio or Scorpio rising. We're going to then see on the 24th of the month a very powerful day for you when the sun in Gemini in your 8th house of joint income and investments, intimacy and other people's money comes into a trine, and that's going to be with Pluto in Aquarius. Wow, what a very powerful day, Scorpio. Trines happening in like water houses means that the information and the stuff that's happening and the changes that are happening are very powerful, and it can also be very emotional. It requires you to communicate your emotions clearly. So deep insights into home and shared resources, themes like changes to your joint finances, inheritance, dealing with tax matters, some profound change to your career or your status, deeply impacting you emotionally and your home. You're going to see on the 24th of the month also, Saturn is going to enter into Aries. So Saturn is now starting what's going to be a new 2.5-year cycle Saturn deals with communication, the mind, also learning, as well as the home and family. And now it's moving into your 6th house. Honestly, you have nothing in common with Aries other than you guys are both ruled by Mars. And if you're an early degree Scorpio rising or sun or moon, it's going to be in conjunct or quincunx your placement. So it means that, you're having to really strengthen the 6th house of your birth chart. This basically means that you need more discipline, right? You need more discipline when it comes to work, your schedule, your productivity, or your health. This is about building sustainable routines and how you can incorporate better communication and better kind of habits, both emotionally, but also around the house and around the family to do these things. And the 6th house is going to sometimes be sacrificial in a way, especially with Neptune being there. So it can mean that you're really looking at, how you're thinking and how you're feeling emotionally and the impact that that has on you physically. And does that impact your health or your wellness? Saturn and Neptune are going to move side by side for a couple of months before they go back into Pisces in the fall. But I would say trying to self-diagnose doesn't work here. Feeling like there's just an ungodly amount of work and responsibility is a theme. Needing to better manage your health and your habits, definitely cutting bad habits, becoming more self-aware, and being more productive definitely is a theme. So watch for that and maybe some changes with work or your work schedule or needing to pay a little bit better attention to your pets. Then we have on the 25th of the month, Mercury is going to join the sun and go into Gemini in your 8th house. This is really about getting clarity, right? Getting clarity in intimate or financial matters. Speaking your truth, great for therapy, great for self-reflection. This can mean that there are some shifts going on revolving around how you look at your friendships, as well as how you look at the kind of the relationship that you have with others. You might kind of be in your feelings because you feel like there's some changes going on with friends or with networks or with groups, but also a huge focus on other people's money. And you're going to see that because then on the 26th, we're going to have a new moon in Gemini in the 8th house. Now, the 8th house is an energy you're familiar with, Scorpio. It is all about what is deep and passionate and intense and kind of a little bit more private or secretive in nature. I think that a new moon here is definitely a fresh start in intimacy or shared resources. The goal here is to really focus on trust. Can you trust other people? Can you have conversations that are about things that might scare you or things that maybe make you feel vulnerable? Can there be a change in also, like I said, your frame of mind? Very powerful new moon because Mercury will be there. Also, it is in harmony. It is trine Pluto. So it looks like you're really focusing on having conversations with partners or investors or other people about how you can transform your home. And it might be through applying for lower interest rates. It might mean that, you're trying to come up with an investment strategy. It might mean that you're trying to cash out on like an inheritance, or you're trying to kind of build strength financially with a partner. So if you do want to move, renovate, or make a change with your living situation, you can. Anyway, so set those intentions for just having better trust with other people and listen to your spidey senses, because the 8th house is definitely a house that's very intuitive. And then finally, on the 29th of the month, you're going to see that the sun will conjunct Mercury, and there will be a cazimi taking place in your 8th house where the sun will meet with Mercury. And truth be told, this is about deep clarity emerging. This is about some kind of truth of a really secretive, private kind of emotional matter coming forward. Conversations can transform. But it can also mean that there is a huge shift to your purpose or your career or your status that's emerging. And you're trying to not be fearful maybe of some of the changes that can happen with this change. It can also be a day where there can be some kind of connection and communication from loved ones and people on the other side. So whether it's a dream or an intuitive gut feeling, they can also be about major transitions and changes kind of going on with the family because it's still making aspects and trines to Pluto. All right, Scorpio. Well, that was May in a nutshell. Let's see what the cards say for you for the month ahead. The card that I get is the Page of Swords. It's coming up again, so this is interesting. Somebody else got this. So watch for any communications or connections with Gemini, Libras, or Aquariuses. It can also be about younger people, children. your children, romantic younger people, creative collaborators, that kind of stuff can kind of come up. I feel like this is a time with Saturn going into your 6th house that I would be creating a to-do list. And sometimes like the pages, they need to learn how to do something. So you're either learning new skills or you're learning like, how to be better about managing your routine or maybe even better with your health. And I would be creating a to-do list. That really got me through having Saturn in my 6th house recently. It taught me that I have to kind of follow a timeline and a routine. And like, that's where I'm going to really thrive the most. And so I'm just telling you this now so you don't have to spend the next 2 years figuring that out. And I think the Page of Swords can be wonderful for being like, okay, I want to learn how to do something. And like, practice makes perfect when you're dealing with pages. So maybe be reflecting on that, maybe do some journaling, maybe create a running to-do list so that way you feel like you can be more productive and watch for those insights that will come through because the Swords is all about intellect. I hope that's helpful. I'll catch you guys back here next month. All right, we've got Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. What's up, Sag? Welcome to your May 2025 horoscopes. I hope you're doing well. Excited to chat with you about what's going on this month. And as you know, you're ruled by Jupiter. Nothing's really going on with Jupiter. Jupiter is getting ready to change signs soon. We're going to see that closer to June. So you're kind of in the final moments and the final throes of just all of this relationship stuff. So it doesn't matter if you're single or you're partnered. You're going to see, Mercury going through your 7th house, the sun going through your 7th house, Jupiter is there. So like the next 2 months is really, really big when it comes to your relationships with people like your siblings, your neighbors, your spouses, romantic partners, commitments, and anything involving other people. So nothing's happening with Jupiter right now. This is a good thing because it means that you're not really going to kind of get whiplashed around like some of the other signs. However, having a lot of planets going through Gemini means that it's going to be about kind of considering a different perspective. So keep in mind that a lot of what happens with Gemini is it could be people show up in pairs or doubles, or it's a back and forth situation, or people who are kind of changing their mind a lot. And I think you might see some of those things happen this month. All right, so let's start with the beginning of the month and take a look at what's happening on May the 2nd. On the 2nd, you're going to see Venus coming into conjunction with Neptune in Aries in your natal 5th house. Something to think about here is that we've had this transit a couple times. It was happening in Pisces and now it's happening in Aries. Venus is going to deal with your allies and groups, friends, and networks. And it's also going to be connected with people who you work with or something about your schedule. So it almost looks like with Venus meeting Neptune in your 5th house, you want to focus more on 5th house things. So you want romance, right? You want to feel creative and wined and dined. Like you want those experiences that feel very magical. Enjoy it, but stay grounded. So there can be a sense of somebody coming into your life and you're very excited about it. And you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the love of my life. And then you're like, wait, what? What's happening? Like it may not feel as consistent. Sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. It can also represent a time where, if you have a younger person or a child in your life, they need more assistance. They need more help. Maybe they're feeling a little lost. Maybe they're feeling a little unsure of themselves and they need like a boost of confidence. So you might have to be more supportive of a child or a younger person. Lose yourself in creativity, have fun with that, play, and really enjoy some of like the romance of the transit in the 5th house. Now, on the 4th of the month, you're going to see Pluto is going to turn retrograde in Aquarius, and it's going to turn retrograde in your natal 3rd house. Now, this is all about communication and power dynamics. You may press pause on, getting ready to say something. You might be reflecting on how you want to communicate. Pluto is connected to your 12th house of the subconscious, so you're working through issues where you're afraid to communicate. You're afraid to say what's on your mind. Maybe you have some anxiety about moving or about traveling. Maybe there has been some, tension going on with like a sibling or a neighbor. And Pluto here really is trying to show you the power of your words and how that can be something that can really shift for you throughout this like 20-year transit. I think here I would just say pay attention to contracts, communications, as well as vehicles. There can be sometimes things that break down. So communication can break down, cars can break down, and there could be some kind of breakdown in what you think or what you believe in. On the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in the sign of Aries in your natal 5th house. Now, Mercury represents your partners and relationships, okay? It's also connected to your career and your purpose. So when Mercury goes through the 5th house, you want to communicate in a romantic, creative, fun way. But it can also be immature. It can also be in a way where you're not taking other people's, I think, feelings into consideration. It can also be a little selfish as it's going through the 5th house as well. The positive here is that you can heal through creative or romantic expression. So open up to people. Whether it's painting, dancing, creating, like you can show people that you can kind of move through things and you can kind of heal the heart space and better express yourself. It can also be a time where, you're healing issues with partners where maybe you haven't felt as lovable or as well received, and you can have a conversation where you can actually smooth some of that stuff over. Equally, you can be doing some journaling on self-love or hashing out an issue maybe that you're having with a child. On the 10th of the month, you're going to see Mercury then enter into Taurus in your 6th house, and it does do well in this house because it likes to be busy. So with Mercury in the 6th, the focus is going to shift to work and health. And this is really about establishing practical routines. They will take hold. So whether this is meal prepping, if this is, going over your schedule, if this is also making sure that you're easing your way into lifestyle and dietary changes, all of those things kind of come up here. Mercury is also going to be about work and productivity and also relationships. You might be feeling like you're communicating and confirming appointments and things with clients or with partners a little bit more. Now, you're going to see on the 12th of the month, you'll have a full moon in the sign of Scorpio, and it will be in your 12th house, which is deeply subconscious, hidden and behind the scenes. This is where emotions that have been kind of like residing beneath your subconscious are now going to start to peak. So there's usually a spiritual release that happens when you have a full moon in your 12th house. It does create this clearing for inner peace, but sometimes it does bring sleep disturbances. Sometimes we feel a little squirrely. We kind of feel like we're kind of crawling out of our skin. And that's just because this is where we're uncomfortable, 12th house. So the ruler of this is both Pluto and Mars. Okay, so Pluto's in the 3rd house of the mind and communication retrograde. So it may be that uncomfortability, that restlessness stems from not being able to communicate. And Mars is in your 9th house of travel. And something that you're going to see with this full moon is that Mercury, right, which is going to be in Taurus in your work zone, is coming into a square with Pluto. So this is where the tension of the full moon, or where you're feeling either under the weather, or stressed out, or overwhelmed, or you just kind of want to run and hide, is because there is work tension and communication tension issues where you're like, I'm pulling my hair out because people are canceling or my schedule is changing and that kind of stuff. Also, the 12th house is the house of healing. So it can mean that you're a little mentally fried and you just need to take a day off. So watch for that. I think somewhere around the 17th of May, when the sun comes into conjunction with Uranus in the 6th house, I'm seeing some of the same things. A sudden shift in routine or health. This is a day where you really want to innovate your daily routine and your habits. The sun is going to be about what you're learning, where you're traveling to, and what you believe in. And the 3rd house rulership in the 6th means that you're finding a new innovative way to work. Maybe you're bringing in a new software. Maybe there's going to be a new schedule. There's going to be some kind of fix for some technical glitches or issues at work. Maybe this is a day where your schedule changes sporadically, but it's all about how you look at it and how you're going to make lemonade and say, hey, you know what, gives me a little bit of time to do some studying or something else that's still going to be beneficial. Watch for health-related issues on this day that can definitely happen, or sudden changes to traveling or education. Then you're going to see on the 17th of the month, we will see Mercury in Taurus square Mars in Leo. A sudden shift in routine or health, so you want to innovate, delays in travel plans, education plans, something not kind of coming together cohesively can kind of happen here. And this is about channeling, I think, some of this friction into something positive, because you're going to have friction between duties, right, which is your 6th house, where you're going to have Mercury, and Mars in the 9th house, which is going to be about big ideas. And you just don't want to rush into suddenly traveling, booking plans, making a change with work until you have kind of figured everything out. On the 20th of the month, you're going to see the sun enter Gemini. So now the sun is in your relationship house, where you're like, I want to go out, spend time with people, spend time with my partner. I want to meet new people. I want to get back into dating if you're single. And this is going to be fun because it's about really highlighting relationships, and not just relationships, but what you're learning about other people. The sun is connected to the ninth house. So there could be graduations, there could be weddings, there could be celebrations, there could be travel that you're going to be doing with other people as well. What you will see on the 22nd is that Venus in Aries in your 5th house is going to trine Mars in Leo in your 9th. And this is really about romance and adventure. So you're going to have the opportunity to travel and meet somebody, or somehow you're traveling with a partner, or there's something spontaneous and adventurous that comes up. It's all about sparking joy. And I would really say that you want to take a leap around this time period. You want to be willing to go places that you have yet to kind of adventure to and explore, because having fun, self-expression is all kind of part of this with the 5th to the 9th house trines. Then you're going to see on the 24th of the month, the sun in Gemini in your 7th house will trine Pluto in Aquarius. And this is a very powerful day for communication. I feel like whether this is you communicating with a sibling, maybe you're communicating with your partner, maybe you're sitting down and you're writing somebody a letter or a proposal, maybe you want to schedule a meeting. This is a really good day to do that, because this is going to be about partnership clarity emerging and like being able to really deepen relationships through talks and connection. You know, it will flow. You're also going to see on this day that on the 24th, Saturn will enter into Aries. Okay, so if you're an early degree Sag rising, like the first 0 to 3 degrees, you're going to be having Saturn trine your ascendant, which is going to be so much better than having had the Pisces squares. Yes, Saturn in the 5th house is all about structure, coming for creativity, romance, and children. But it's really trying to teach you throughout this transit that you can build lasting joy. You can take a chance on something as long as it's done in a proper fashion. So whether you're taking your time in love, or you're really thinking through having a kid, or maybe you're expressing yourself creatively in a way through like writing, and making money, that kind of stuff. The trine to your ascendant means that you're having fun in a responsible way, and you're approaching whatever you're creating seriously, and matters of the heart too. So that'll be like a 2.5-year transit. It's just starting now. But I find it interesting that on the 24th, you have Saturn enter the 5th house of romance, and then you also have the sun trine Pluto. So you're going to have a pretty serious conversation with somebody about what it is that you love and what you're hoping to kind of create together. Now, on the 25th, you're going to see that Mercury is then going to enter your 7th house. So Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, all in the 7th house is like very much like relationship oriented. So if you're single, somebody can definitely appear. More than one person can appear. After all, Gemini is the twins. And partnership stuff is going to be a theme. So conversations can strengthen bonds. Negotiations, diplomacy with other people can definitely be great for business. And right after that, on the 26th, you're going to have a new moon in your 7th house of relationships. And I like this new moon in general. If you guys heard me talk about it earlier in my kind of intro, one of the better new moons all year. Trines to Pluto are very encouraging of new powerful allies for you, contracts and negotiations. Maybe this is going to be for, you opening the door to selling something new or promoting some kind of service, and like having a new website or having like more activity on social media. Maybe this is going to mean that there's just new beginnings in relationships and you're setting intentions for connection. So if you're single, this is a very powerful moon for, getting out your local community with trines to Pluto and meeting people, going on some short distance trips, being more communicative and not being afraid to speak out. For others, it can represent a time where, you're meeting people online, right? Pluto in the 3rd house can be about apps and things online. Otherwise, strengthening conversations in relationships and planning new things. And Mercury is also in the mix. It's going to be in Gemini during the new moon. So I love it for people who are partnered, where you guys are planning trips and traveling, or you're talking about buying vehicles, about moving, that kind of stuff. All right, so set intentions for connection then. And then finally, on the 29th, there is going to be a Sun-Mercury cazimi that's going to be taking place in the sign of Gemini. This is where the Sun and Mercury will conjunct, and it's a positive transit. It does represent a time where relationship ideas shine, opportunities to communicate and really talk about like where you're going, right? So the Sun is connected to the 9th house. So let's say you've met somebody and you're talking about wanting to go on a trip. This is a time where you guys might start discussing, hey, let's go to this place. Let's go and like suss it out and, plan something or do some research. If you're wanting to get married or plan a wedding, because the ninth house can be ceremonies, it can mean that you're talking about, well, where do we want to do this? And how do we want to do this? And when? And like, what is it going to look like? Can also be a wonderful time to establish a relationship with a mentor, a teacher, or a guide, and be kind of talking to them about, whatever it is that you kind of need insight on. So my gosh, Sag, this is going to be a very relationship-oriented month. You're going to find that the longer that we get into May, the better the relationship stuff is going to be. Certainly, some of the Mercury aspects can be about feeling like you're prioritizing what's going on in your relationships in your private life. And maybe there's like a shift away from work and you're not as work focused. You're like, yes, okay, I can do work, but like work has to be willing to be flexible and your priorities are kind of elsewhere, more focused on travel, relationships, and having fun this month. I hope that's helpful for you guys. So let's see what the cards have to say for you for the month ahead. The card that I get is the Two of Wands. Deciding and kind of assessing like what direction you're going in. Like what I like about this card is that you're standing at the precipice of change. You're like, do I want to go here or do I want to go there? Do I want this job or that relationship or that relationship? And here's where you make a lot of decisions. And I feel like before you make decisions about where you're traveling to, what you're studying, what your goals are going to be in terms of relationships and career, all of these trines to Pluto are basically opening the door to saying like, get feedback, like talk to other people. Whether you're booking an astrology reading because planets in your 7th house, or maybe you're going back and forth having pillow talk with your spouse, or maybe you're talking to a therapist, it's talking to them about where you can actually finally overcome some of the fears that you have with moving forward. And I think that it can be really, really beneficial, especially with some of the sextiles to your 5th house transits, where you're kind of clearing out where you've had blockages to being creative, or you've had blockages to being in love or dating or having romance or fear revolving around like children. Like you'll finally start to clear some of that stuff. So I'm excited to see what direction you go in. You're definitely assessing things. And I feel like this is a month where opportunities are going to present themselves and things are really going to start to kind of open up. Good luck, Sag. I'll catch you back here next month. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's going on, Capricorn? Welcome to May of 2025. I hope you're doing well. We've definitely got some stuff happening this month. Your chart ruler is on the move, which happens about every 2.5 years or so. So you get a little bit of like a sneak preview of this Saturn changing signs basically for the next couple of months before Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces in your 3rd house. So I've been prepping you guys for this for a couple of months. I've been telling you, pay attention to the Mercury retrograde in your home where your home's getting reassessed. Pay attention to the Venus retrograde where some of you guys were renovating. Some of you guys were, maybe getting back into working at home. Some of you guys were changing directions where you're living. And then the solar eclipse. So all of these things were kind of like foreshadowing the changes that were going to really officially come in May when Saturn enters into Aries. Okay, so you are Saturn. Truth be told, Saturn does not perform well in this sign because Saturn usually likes to have a plan. It's an authority figure. It's really had a lot of experience and a lot of maturity and like doing things for a long period of time. And Aries does not have the patience. Aries also has to learn how to do something it's never done before. And it's coming into connection with Neptune, which can mean that things can seem clouded. All right. Find yourself a Sag rising who you can get some feedback from, who can give you some insight about this transit. I've been saying to Sag for the last 2 years, I have Saturn and Neptune natally in my 4th house. So I know what this energy feels like. Water issues, water damage issues, things that are connecting to older relatives that are sick, or who are having like mental health or addiction related issues. Sometimes like estrangement with family can happen here or with a parent. There can also be this feeling of like looking for your home, like where is home supposed to be? And Saturn coming into the 4th house with Neptune, it's at the lowest part of the chart. So it's looking up. So some of you guys might feel like, well, I had to move back in with my parents, or, well, now I'm living in a more remote area, or, now I have to move out on my own, or I have to take care of a grandparent. Something is going on here. And I don't know if it's going to be an issue necessarily with a parent or with a sibling or with neighbors, but there can be something that's going on that's kind of disrupting the home zone. So what you need to know is that whatever is coming up is nothing new. You've been dealing with some rearrangement for the last couple of months with the retrogrades and the eclipse. you have until February of next year where Saturn and Neptune will align. So you're going to kind of see where, okay, some of you guys might go to a foreign land. Some of you guys might decide you're going to go move to like more like rural area, you know? But Saturn being in the 4th house here in this sign is really about structure, shaping your home life. It can also mean that it's time for you to build a solid foundation. Where do you want to live? What kind of a home do you want? What kind of a life are you building? I found that when Saturn went through this part of my chart, it was a couple years ago. It was going on about 5 or 6 years ago. Was a huge pivotal turning point for me. And this was when I was like, I don't like living where I'm living. I don't want to be in this city. I want to go somewhere else. Like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be, like living the way that I was living. And that transit changed everything for me. It helped me move. I ended up getting into a committed relationship. I really strengthened my business. Like a lot of good things came from it, but a lot of emotional turmoil can also come with this transit. So if you are an early degree Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, 0 to about 3 degrees, you're under not just a Saturn square, but a Neptune square as well. So some of you guys don't know exactly where you're going yet. That's okay. Some of you guys might find that you're going to buy your first home in this transit, or you're going to have your first apartment to yourself, or maybe you're going to move to another country. Saturn takes time to be able to unfold, okay? Pay attention to what's going on with home and family dynamics here. All right, so with that being said, at the top of the month, starting on May the 2nd, you're going to see that Venus is going to come into connection with Neptune. One thing to think about here is that Neptune deals with siblings. Venus can be a woman. So female neighbors, female roommates, female partners you live with, maybe moms, cousins, aunts, that kind of stuff. There could be something going on with some of these people. On the other hand, Venus conjunct Neptune in the 4th house, it feels like very dreamy and nostalgic. So you can be feeling like you're thinking about the past a lot. Maybe you have a woman coming to stay with you. Maybe she's bringing you old photos or talking about old stories of like when you were a kid or when you were younger. And it's a time where you want to create a very cozy, dreamy kind of escape at home, or you want a space that you feel like is going to be your own, right? Aries, it's like, this is my space. So you might have like a corner or a room that you decide that you want to decorate or create more of like a meditation space, right? Music and beauty and harmony, you really need that to kind of set the vibe with these two planets conjunct. On the 4th of the month, you're going to see Pluto turn retrograde in Aquarius. So it's turning retrograde in your money house. This is also about security, financial strength, spending power. So Pluto is connected to your goals and your friends and your allies. And when it turns retrograde in the 2nd house, there is basically like financial power dynamics are shifting. So maybe you're reassessing your value. Maybe there is some unexpected kind of change with your financial goals. Maybe you feel like where there's been some tension and stress revolving around money, this starts to kind of calm down a little bit. And throughout this year, you will actually see Saturn sextile Pluto. So your financial transformations can actually come from changes in your home life, your living situation. For some of you, moving back home, you will save money. For others, maybe moving to a new space or getting into another place can also create some financial kind of tension. But I'd be reassessing your values and also your spending power and your goals during this retrograde over the next several months. Now, on the 6th of the month, Mercury will conjunct Chiron in Aries. So in the 4th house, it's always going to deal with home. Mercury is going to be connected to people from further away. It can be things connecting to visas, passports, documents, in-laws. It can also be kind of connected to legal matters. And Mercury conjunct Chiron means that there can definitely be some difficult talks maybe that you had with family or roommates. It can also mean that you're addressing old wounds within the family. You're trying to do it with care. You're trying to do it in a way that maybe you're healing and you're forgiving and you're moving on and you're learning a lot from some of the experiences that you've had. Maybe it can also be a time where you don't feel like people are really hearing you. Pay attention to pets and animals. Also pay attention to where certain family members are going through some healing issues and they might feel like they need some help or assistance. Then you're going to see on the 10th of the month, Mercury is going to enter Taurus. So it's going to go into your 5th house in a fellow sister earth sign. So it's a little bit friendlier for you, Capricorn. Here is where you're taking your 9th house and your 6th house lord and placing it in the 5th. So what you're going to be really focusing on is there is this shift from, home and family matters to, okay, I want to focus on creativity. I want to do hobbies. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to date. I want to have fun. I want to play games. but you'll be grounded in your creative expression. You'll be able to, make some of these decisions, I think, in like a very stable way. But the fifth house is still about what you enjoy and what brings you pleasure. So I think you're going to make more time for that in your day-to-day routine. Now, on the 12th of the month, you're going to have a full moon in Scorpio, and this full moon will be in your 11th house, which is going to deal with, friends and group dynamics, some of your goals coming to fruition, and also deep bonds or power struggles with groups or allies might emerge. At the time of this full moon, the ruler is Pluto and also Mars. And what we're going to see is that there is going to be a square between Mercury and Taurus to Pluto, which basically means there could be, some tension revolving around creativity versus money. And you're trying to find a harmony. And it's like, okay, I want to have fun, or these are the things that my kids need, or this is what my heart wants. But what do I actually have the resources for? How can I afford it? And is this something that I truly want and truly value? So it can bring a little bit of some tension in communication here. So watch for that. But sometimes the full moon in the 11th house is there's a party, there's a gathering, there's some big shift happening in the life of a friend. Something of that nature can definitely take place. And I think with Mars being in the 8th house, it's just there's big changes going on with friendships. And it's how you're responding to that and how that's kind of impacting you emotionally or psychologically. Now, on the 17th of the month, the sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So you will see the sun meeting with Uranus in your 5th house. And this means that there is likely going to be a wild spark of romance, a sudden chance for luck, whether that's, gambling or taking chances or investing, some kind of creative breakthrough. And there can be a big change in matters of the heart or children. So embrace the chaos. I feel like this can actually be really great for a really intense, passionate kind of connection with somebody, or an unexpected pregnancy can happen here as well because the sun's connected to the 8th house and where there can be big risk and big reward. Now, also on the 17th, you'll see Mercury and Taurus in your 5th house coming into a square with Mars in Leo. So friction between fun and deeper commitments. You're going to be trying to balance both. I feel like maybe you meet somebody and you're torn because you're I really thought I wanted a committed relationship, but now I just want to have fun, or I really want to have something real. And you're trying to remind yourself, just be in the moment, be present, have a good time. So yeah, there's a little bit of friction here, and it can also be about pregnancy stuff. It can also be about investments as well, whether or not you're willing to kind of take a risk on something. All right, on the 20th of the month, you're going to see the sun enter into Gemini. So for the rest of the month, there's a huge emphasis on your 6th house, which is going to be about work and your routine, your coworkers, your health, as well as your pets. So your energy is turning in that direction. Change when it comes to your habits, health, and daily routine. Change in how you communicate or your schedule as well. On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Venus in Aries in your 4th house, trining Mars in Leo in your 8th house. Ooh, I like this. This is passionate. Maybe there is some passionate kind of connection going on with somebody behind the scenes. Maybe there is some shift going on with your home or your family resources, which is helping you pay a debt. So, some gift can be given to you, or there can be some woman benefiting you or your family, which can kind of help you guys strengthen your joint financial situation if you're in a relationship or a marriage. But basically, home and intimacy harmonizes, and it can be very passionate when it comes to some kind of merger and transformation of the home or the heart. On the 24th of the month, you're going to see the sun in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius. So the sun will be going through your house of work, and it'll be trining Pluto in your 2nd house. And I feel like this is a day where work and finances align. If you are wanting to pick up a second job, or if you're wanting to increase, your financial situation or your spending power, a second job can appear here. There can be some support also coming from joint partnerships and finances as well. And this trine is really about practical power growing, where when you're showing up and you're, doing the work and the heavy lifting, it's going to shift not only your finances, but also your self-esteem. On the 24th of the month, this is when Saturn also enters into your 4th house. So be mindful of that. I could see a lot of you guys doing some home improvement projects and you're like, okay, I'm doing it myself. And, I'm trying to reassess maybe what it's going to cost to fix something. Do I hire somebody or do I do the work? But this is all about structuring your home life and building that foundation. And then on the 25th of the month, Mercury will also enter Gemini. So it likes being in Gemini. It likes being in the 6th house. I think Mercury will do very well here. Pretty much the 25th through the end of the month, there is a huge focus on gaining clarity in your routines or your health. Maybe organizing your life. Maybe this is also about better organizing your schedule. It can mean that you're prioritizing your health or you're trying to focus on bringing in a new pet, taking care of a pet, or starting a new job. On the 26th of the month, you will have a new moon in Gemini in your 6th house. And this is a fresh start for work or wellness. So I would set intentions around your routines. Mercury, the ruler, will be there, and it's going to be trining Pluto in your 2nd house. So this is about organizing your work so that way you feel like you're making more money or you feel more financially secure, changing something about your routines and your habits as well as what you're eating. It could also mean that there is a potentially a shift revolving around your mindset and how you're approaching health. Getting back to the doctor, doing physicals, checking in with your healthcare team, all of that stuff can be very beneficial when you have a new moon in the 6th house. Then you're going to see on the 29th of the month, the sun will conjunct Mercury in the sign of Gemini in your 6th house. This is going to be the Kazimi. So this is a fortunate aspect. Mercury is about what you're learning, higher education, law, legality, and traveling. And the sun is about change. So those of you guys going through like legal matters or lawsuits, there can be some good news that comes up about something finally coming to a completion. This is also where work ideas definitely shine. And I feel like you're going to feel very efficient. You're going to get a lot of work done. Maybe the more organized and the better kind of like situated your schedule is, like you feel better and you feel like emotionally or psychologically, you're kind of having like a breakthrough. So that can be really beneficial as well. Just really getting things in order seems to be the name of the game for you guys in this next month. So even though it's going to feel like a lot of like hard work and grinding things out, I think it's going to be very beneficial in helping create more emotional groundedness and security for you on the home front. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's see what the cards have to say for you guys for the month of May. The card that I get is the Ace of Cups. Okay, so this is a relationship card. So this can be new relationships on the horizon. I do think that is coming in. I think that you guys are going to see that in some way, shape, or form pretty soon, especially as we're getting into June and July when planets go through your 6th house, your 7th house of relationships. Jupiter is going to show up. It's going to be a big relationship year for you guys starting this summer. But the 6th house is where we prepare ourselves, right? It's like, before we go on a date, we, brush our hair and our teeth and we fix everything. We make sure everything's presentable. So there is like this sense, I think, this month in preparing to meet somebody new. Whether it's, we're going to go to a job interview or you're going to meet somebody new romantically, or there's going to be some new kind of like working relationship, although this is generally romantic. So it can be saying there is a new romantic opportunity on the horizon. Possibly maybe part of that is like Venus and Neptune aligning too, where you're kind of reassessing what you want in relationships and you want like the perfect relationship to come in and you want commitment. But relationships in general, I think, are going to be a theme this month. And I think you're preparing for what you need to get in order. So that way you feel like you're more so presentable and you have your stuff together. So that way you can kind of like meet somebody halfway over this summer. Okay. So maybe new relationship opportunities for some of you Capricorns. You guys will have to let me know. Good luck. I'll catch you guys back here next month. All right, we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's going on, Aquarius? Welcome to your May horoscopes for 2025. I hope you're doing well. We got some stuff going on in your chart this month. There are both things going on with Uranus, and there are also things that are going on with Saturn, and also Pluto is retrograde in your sign. So all of those things I think are really significant. Kind of rolling through this just quickly, and we'll get into the details. Pluto is turning retrograde in your first house if you're in Aquarius rising. So if you have anything 0 to about 4 degrees, you're under a Pluto transit. Pluto will now be retrograding for the next 5 months. So that's going to be very impactful for you, especially when it comes to, personal transformation, reassessing the changes you've made. learning how to kind of get in touch with your inner world. It can also be a time where you're reflecting on your personal evolution and who you're becoming physically, but also in a professional sense, because Pluto is connected to your career and your purpose. So this is a time to watch around the 4th of May when that retrograde begins, and it'll be retrograde for several months. You will also see Saturn change signs this month, which is your traditional ruler, and it's going to leave your money house of Pisces and go into your 3rd house of Aries. And you're going to see both conjunctions to Uranus, as well as you're going to see some squares that are starting to kind of set up as well between Mercury and Mars, which will create a little tension also. So I'll go through all of this stuff so that way you guys have it on a day-by-day kind of basis. All right, so starting at the beginning, we have on May the 2nd, Venus will conjunct Neptune in Aries, and this will take place in your natal 3rd house. So Venus is about home and family. It's also connected to your beliefs in the bigger picture. And when it conjuncts in your 3rd house, it basically means that on one hand, communication can feel like very poetic. It can be very creative. So if you're a writer or if you're in the self-expression kind of world, blogging, vlogging, whatever, this can be a day where you feel inspired. But it can also mean that things are confusing, and like trying to communicate and talk to family, talking about relationships, talking about money, seems a little bit challenging. And you can dream big with Venus conjunct Neptune, but clarify intentions, like going and buying a car without looking at the sticker price, maybe signing a contract or release without like really reevaluating the details is something you want to watch out for. And you can be idealizing things and romanticizing when you talk about it, but make sure it's grounded in reality. On the 4th of the month, Pluto will start its retrograde in your 1st house, where you could notice some profound shifts about yourself, your appearance, and also your personal power, reassessing who you are and where you're going with your career. On the 6th of the month, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, and this will take place in the 3rd house. So Chiron is always about healing a wound, and this can be trying to have a conversation with a sibling, a neighbor, trying to express yourself, but feeling like maybe it's hard to find the words, or feeling a little insecure or vulnerable when it comes to talking about a personal matter. Maybe you're trying to heal issues with a sibling, or you're trying to hash something out with a neighbor. I do think you're going to want to be kind of speaking from the heart. Mercury is connected to your 5th house of children and your 8th house of joint resources and intimacy. So it is possible that you're reflecting on your childhood, or you're trying to kind of express yourself to a romantic partner, or you're trying to talk to your kids about a financial matter and you feel a little challenged. And it might be like a sensitive topic to be bringing up with someone else. On the 10th of May, you're going to see Mercury enter into Taurus. So now your mind and your communication is very much focused on the home, family, property, real estate, and any kind of grounded talks revolving around your home and your private life will be the focus. On the 12th of the month, you'll see a full moon in Scorpio in your 10th house of career. So with the full moon, basically you planted seeds 6 months ago to focus on growth within your career or your professional life. Maybe it's about your purpose if you're retired. Maybe this can be about your public image. And this is where career things will be peaking emotionally. So you could have a public moment that brings you some kind of clarity, but it can also bring some kind of closure. And this can be where we're like launching businesses, we're making big announcements, we're switching jobs, we're retiring. And this is going to be ruled by Pluto, which is in your sign. So you're the one bringing on this personal, profound shift to your career, your professional life, or your purpose. It's also connected to Mars, and Mars is in your 7th house of relationships. What's tricky about this full moon is like you're kind of in the spotlight. When you have a full moon in your 10th house, you're a lot more visible. So people can see the big changes that you're making. And maybe with Pluto retrograde, you feel like it's a little intense and that you're still going through like a moment of change. It's also uncomfortable because Mercury will be in your home zone and it's going to be in a square with Pluto in your sign. So there is this tension with the full moon about home versus self. And maybe it's about finding an opportunity or a way to better balance your roots in your home life with independence. And you don't feel like you're losing yourself in the mix up of the family and the home and the living situation. Like Pluto in your 1st house wants to really define who you are outside of your career or your family. And I feel like the full moon that is in the 10th house squaring you by sign is saying a lot of the same things. So just be mindful of that you still need to have some of your own independent time. It is possible on the 17th, when the sun comes into conjunction with Uranus and Taurus, that there is some sudden shift at home, right? So change will shake things up. You or Uranus, the sun is other people. This might mean you and your partner decide, you know what, we're moving, we're selling the house, or we're going to renovate, or it's time to reorganize the home, or we need to get away from the house a little bit. We need to get out there and go and do something different. Or maybe it's time to, pack up and relocate. So there can be some spontaneous, unexpected event, but there could also be like an exciting party or a gathering or something going on with home and family around the 17th. The same day, you're going to see Mercury and Taurus squaring Mars and Leo. So some kind of communication that's supposed to be grounded and stable on the home front is challenging partners. And the truth is that I feel like there's going to be some kind of friction between family and relationships. So you might have a spouse that has a squabble, with a family member. It might mean that a partner is being very vocal about what they don't like about the home base and that there is some kind of conflict with the family. Just stay calm, keep the peace. I feel like you'll be on the outside kind of watching this go down because it's not involving you personally. It's involving family and partnerships. On the 20th of the month, the sun's going to enter into Gemini, and you're going to spend the second half of the month now with a bunch of planets going through your 5th house, which will be trining you by sign because it's going to be a fellow sister air sign. So the energy is now shifting to where there is going to be more focus on relationships. It's also going to be about creativity, romance, children, hobbies, having fun. The sun does represent relationships, so it could mean the relationship you have with your children, the relationship you have with your hobbies, the relationship that you have with your siblings, and just 5th house is where we want to cut loose and we want to enjoy ourselves and we want to focus on our hobbies and on our creative projects. So dating, meeting people, spending time with your kids, having fun, this is all highlighted. On the 22nd of the month, you're going to see Venus in Aries in your 3rd house of communication and learning, trining Mars in your 7th house of relationships. I really like this day for you guys. I feel like this is where conversations and talk really spark relationship passion. It's very flirty. It's great for connection. Trying to meet somebody online, trying to meet somebody locally if you're just kind of walking around town. It could be a great day to get out of town and do like a staycation, with a romantic partner. It can be a time where you're planning a short distance trip. Maybe you write somebody a love letter. Maybe you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I want to work with you. A great contract proposal day, as well as communication is really flowing with the 7th house of others. On the 24th of the month, the sun in Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius. So I like this day for you for relationship stuff as well. The sun in the 5th house is all about creativity, and this is also identity, and it's aligning with yourself, the personal changes that you are going through and how you can better write about it, talk about it, create through it, express through it. There is some, I think, like breakthrough that you're having where there's going to be a lot of more creativity and self-expression. And I think that you guys might find that it does impact something in regards to your career or parenting. That could be like another theme. Let's see, what else do we have here? And then also on the same day, on the 24th, then Saturn enters into your 3rd house. So where this trine is like authentic, creative, self-expressive, Saturn moves into the 3rd house and you're like, okay, now I need more discipline when it comes to communication and wanting to really build a clear expression. You are Saturn in many ways. So it means that maybe you're like, I want to move. I want to learn a new language. Maybe it means that you want to, start traveling. Maybe you want to get a new car. There can be challenges in communication. There can be issues with gadgets and phones and, communication with siblings or with neighbors. But what's interesting is at the time of this ingress, Mars is in the 7th house. So it is kind of saying that it's going to be about how you're communicating either with children or your creative partnerships or your romantic partnerships, telling them how you feel, right? The sun in the 5th house is saying a lot of the same things. So really focus on your words and, build a sense of clear expression. If you want to commit to starting a website or maybe launching a blog, or you want to start some kind of social media channel or YouTube, this might be the beginning process of you doing that. Something about what you're writing, what you're saying, what you're communicating can be part of your creative expression. On the, on the 25th, we're going to see Mercury enter Gemini. So now it's in your 5th house of creativity. And there can be creative clarity that can kind of emerge. So if you're working on a creative project, you're writing something, or maybe you just want to communicate more freely in romantic relationships, you'll feel like expressing yourself very boldly, I think, with Mercury in this sign. Then on the 26th of the month, you have a new moon in Gemini. So you're planting a new seed where you're focusing on a fresh start in romance or creativity. The ruler Mercury is also involved. So I feel like it can mean that you're keeping an open mind with dating if you're getting back out there and meeting people. You're focusing now on communication with your children. Maybe you want to start a new website or a creative project. And this particular new moon will trine Pluto in your sign. So for Aquarius and Aquarius risings, if you want to start a new creative hobby, if you want to start a new writing routine, or if you're looking to get pregnant, this can definitely be a new moon where you can be setting intentions for that, because the 5th house is going to represent like fertility and new opportunities with children. And the trine to Pluto is going to be talking about your new personal goals and how yourself and your identity and your body can change. Just set joyful intentions and have some fun is what I would do. And then on the 29th of the month, you're going to see the Sun conjunct Mercury in the sign of Gemini. This will be the Mercury Cazimi. Wow, creative ideas will shine here. Some kind of creative breakthrough. Maybe you're feeling inspired. Maybe there is some exciting, shocking, or surprising thing that's kind of popping up about, romantic encounters. There could be some major shift in your mindset when it comes to children or creativity. It can be that some of you guys find out you're pregnant because Mercury is in this house and is trining Pluto. And Mercury is kind of connected to the South Node. So it can mean that some of you guys are kind of like, oh my God, I took a test, I didn't realize I was pregnant, and then boom. Or major milestones like your kids taking the first steps, or, starting to communicate or going to school. That can be something that can happen here as well. And for those of you guys who are single, keep your eyes out because it can be a very significant romantic time for you. I hope that's helpful for you, Aquarius. Let's take a look and see what the tarot says for the month ahead and what you need to be aware of. The card that I get is the Hanged Man. Interesting that Saturn is leaving Pisces, where it's been kind of hanging out. That's a very Pisces energy, where it's been like being cautious, waiting, and reevaluating, to the 3rd house. So this can be about contemplation and reassessing things before you communicate, before you speak out. Obviously, I say that because it's also connected to Neptune, and Neptune has that association with Pisces. So this would be a wonderful time for those of you guys who are wanting to learn divination, right? Because the 3rd house has that connection to Mercury, which is the diviner. If you've been wanting to learn how to read tarot, if you've been wanting to learn astrology, if you want to learn how to read runes, or maybe you want to get a pendulum, right? Something that you personally, Aries, can use to divine 3rd house and gain clarity, Saturn, Neptune, can be a good time to do that. This might also mean you're reading books on meditation, or, learning to be a little bit more stoic, or reassessing things before you kind of leap into taking some kind of action. It can also mean that this is a month of reflection where you're just kind of hitting pause. What are you reflecting on? Well, probably yourself, first of all, Pluto retrograde, but also really reflecting on matters of the heart and what is most important to you. I think the Hangman has taught me personally that sometimes we just have to kind of just detach and let go of any particular outcome, or we're not trying to control an outcome. We're just more focused on reassessing and like really thinking about how things feel internally. So if you feel like you need to kind of reevaluate some things, you can. I think that's primarily stemming from Pluto retrograde in your sign, where you're reassessing your identity, and also how to better kind of communicate and express some of that now that Saturn is in your 3rd house. I hope that's helpful for you guys. I hope you enjoy this month. It looks like a lot of fun, and I will catch you guys back here next month in June. Well, we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. Let's play on Pisces. I hope you guys are well. We got a lot going on this month. Obviously, I'm going to talk to you about what's happening with your chart rulers, so Jupiter as well as Neptune. Jupiter's not really doing anything. Okay. You're going to see Jupiter continue to stay in your 4th house for about another month or so, which means that there is emphasis going on with your home, your family, your emotions, your intuition, and your living situation. One other thing that's going to be going on, though, is Neptune is in Aries now. So you're going to see Neptune kind of get up to about 1, almost 2 degrees in the month of May, where you are now reevaluating and reassessing, what values you have, what's going on with your money, what's going on with your spending, what's changing in regards to maybe your goals when it comes to financial security. And you are going to see Venus hit Neptune, which actually can be beneficial for you in terms of gaining some kind of resources. And you will also see Saturn come into conjunction with Neptune as well. So money stuff gets real this month. You might want to go and learn about Saturn transiting your 2nd house, because it's definitely a time where we have to get serious about our value system. We tighten the budget a little bit. Maybe we practice minimalism, or we're willing to kind of release or let things go. We really have to focus on self-esteem. Okay. All right. So starting from the top, on May the 2nd, we're going to have Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries. And this is beneficial because Venus is bringing you something. So Venus is connected to other people's money, debts, loans, resources, as well as your 3rd house of communication. So emails, texts. It can mean that you get like a phone call or an email where somebody's like, hey, I'm trying to pay you back, or maybe you get a call from the bank that, hey, your request for your increased credit went through, or your application for the loan went through. But be careful when it comes to matters of money and scams, okay? Money or values here feel dreamy. And I would say just be careful with any financial illusions, or maybe, buying into something that seems too good to be true. On the 4th of the month, you're going to see Pluto turn retrograde in Aquarius, and it's happening in your 12th house. So it's definitely more behind the scenes. It's subconscious. Maybe things are stirring within your subconscious. You notice some changes with your dreams or your sleeping schedule. I would say this is giving you the opportunity to reflect on maybe hidden fears. Pluto's connected to the 9th house. So what are you afraid of exploring? What are you afraid of learning? What have you been afraid of when it comes to traveling and going to other places? That might be some stuff that you're going to be kind of reassessing. On the 6th of the month, Mercury will conjunct Chiron in Aries. So Mercury conjunct Chiron in the 2nd house does bring up healing talks about self-worth or finances. Be gentle with yourself. Mercury is also connected to home and relationships or partnerships. So it can be a time where, you're feeling a little stressed out talking about money, or you're feeling the financial crunch, or you're having to talk to your family or your partners about what's going on with your money situation or issues pertaining to self-esteem, where you're feeling a little less confident maybe about some of this stuff. But you can communicate and work through it. So if you haven't felt valued, if you haven't felt supported, you're going to be able to tell people how you've been feeling. On the 10th of the month, Mercury will enter into Taurus, and it'll go into your 3rd house, and it does perform well in the 3rd house. This is all about the focus shifting to communication and learning. So now it's possible that you're communicating more with family or relatives. Maybe you're communicating better with romantic partners. Maybe you're planning trips, you're learning things, focusing on gadgets. Stay grounded in your communication is my advice, because we're going to see Mercury make some squares. Now, on the 12th, you're going to see a full moon in Scorpio in your 9th house. Okay, so it'll be at 22 degrees. So if you have Pisces rising, 21, 22, 23 degrees, or sun moon placements, it will trine you. So it'll be a water trine, which can be a lot more emotional. Sometimes when you have a full moon in the 9th house, you're traveling. So you're at an airport, or you're graduating, or you're going to a ceremony. There could be major conclusions or changes revolving around your beliefs or travel that's really peaking emotionally. This is meant to be a transformative moon. It's about really realizing that, there's a big world out there, and you got to get out there and you got to explore. Or maybe because this is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto's retrograde in the 12th house, it's about overcoming fears of travel or going places that you have never been before. We will also see this be a huge turning point for if you're wanting to publish something, if you're involved in legal matters, if you are wanting to plan a ceremony or some kind of legal matter. I mean, you can do that during the full moon. The challenge here is that this is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And what you're going to see also happening on the 12th is that Mercury in your communication zone is going to square Pluto. So there's a square between the 3rd and the 12th house. So this kind of materializes as communication versus inner tension. Think before speaking, my Pisces, okay? Think before speaking, especially if it comes to moves, money matters, anything in regards to communicating maybe with like siblings or relatives. There can be a little bit of tension there. On the 17th of the month, the sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And this is a sudden shift in how you communicate, changes to your education or travel plans. The sun represents kind of like challenges or upheavals. It's also about health and habits. So you may have a breakthrough in what you're learning when it comes to productivity, when it comes to health and wellness. You might have a spontaneous travel opportunity for work. It can mean that there is some kind of shock or surprise maybe that kind of comes up in regards to communication over your schedule, your coworkers, or your pets. And what you will see on the 17th, the same day, is that Mercury, which is in Taurus, will square Mars. And this is tension between the 3rd and the 6th house. So this will bring up friction between ideas and work. Maybe you're just trying to like problem solve and you're not seeing eye to eye with other people at work. You might feel like communication is a little stressful and you're trying to really channel this energy wisely, where if you're trying to share with other people and provide solutions and they just want to kind of be combative and fight you, it's like taking a step back and being like, okay, I'm not gonna argue with you, especially when it comes to like scheduling and planning matters. On the 20th of the month, you're going to see the sun enter Gemini. So the sun will now move into your 4th house, where it's putting the spotlight on your home, your private life, your family, your living situation. And the sun is about health, habits, and routines. So you might be more prioritized in confirming plans that you have over the summer with your family, getting your home in order, getting things organized, feeling like you have more time to hang out and kind of chill with your family, your roommates, your kids, your pets, that kind of stuff. And on the 22nd of the month, we see Venus in Aries in your money house, making a trine to Leo in your 6th house where Mars is. This is harmonizing. So we see money, 2nd house, harmonizing with work and effort, and it's paying off. So let's say with Saturn and Neptune in your 2nd house, you're like, I'm not eating certain foods anymore. I'm cutting them out of my diet. Saturn can be about like scaling back. And it shows you where you're more productive, you're more active. And for some of you guys, it's, I'm not drinking, right? I'm not drugging, I'm not smoking, I'm working out. And the Venus trine Mars can mean that you have like a happier, healthier mindset. But also just working hard and money, things seem to kind of like correlate, and hard work definitely pays off. And then on the 24th of the month, you're going to see the sun in Gemini come into a trine, and that will be with Pluto in Aquarius in your 12th house. So this is where home and, I think like your psyche deepen, right? There can be really strong intuitive insights and dreams. It can mean that, you're recognizing and realizing that if you get your home in order, you feel better, you feel like there's more clarity, you sleep better. Some of you guys might benefit from feng shuiing your house, decluttering your house, cleaning out your closets, maybe gridding your house, doing some things to kind of change things energetically, or reorganizing your kitchen or your bedroom. I know that sounds weird, but you might feel like, wow, this has actually kind of given me some clarity, and you feel like you can kind of like think more clearly. But very, very powerful days where there can be some positive shifts and new habits that are kind of coming in. On the 24th, you're also going to see Saturn enter into Aries. So Saturn will move into your 2nd house of money and income. Saturn rules the 12th house of what is hidden and subconscious, and the 11th house of friends, allies, and goals. Well, Saturn moving into the 2nd house is definitely going to be themes where there needs to be more structure around finances. This is about building lasting security. And sometimes this Saturn transit in the 2nd house will start with having less, feeling the tightening of the purse strings, having to give things away, having to work harder for the money. But it's also connected to self-esteem and how you're building up your self-esteem and really prioritizing getting out of your own way and focusing on your goals. investing your time and your energy in the people and the groups that are going to help build you up. So you will be willing to spend money on some social connections, on some groups, and participation with those people. But in other ways, there's going to be like a sense of kind of cutting things off or kind of holding things back. Working on your self-esteem is so incredibly important during this transit. I cannot stress this enough. So you need to be really kind of encouraging yourself and building strength and security within yourself and really knowing your worth. Now, on the 25th of the month, you're going to see Mercury will enter into Gemini. So now Sun, Mercury, Jupiter are all in your 4th house of home and family. There can be better communication with family. There can be kind of clarity revolving around where you're going with your home and your living situations, what's happening with relationships. And I would say that this can be where conversations definitely bring light to who you're living with and what you're planning to do on the home front. Now, on the 26th of the month, you're going to have a new moon in Gemini in your 4th house. So this gives you the opportunity to have a fresh start at home. Whether you're like, hey, I just want to clean the house and bless my home, or if you're like, I'm looking for a new apartment, I want to buy something new, I want to sign a lease. Maybe your goal is in 6 months' time that you want to move out of your family home and you want to move into a new space. This is the time that you set those intentions. And this is a very powerful new moon because not only is it in the 4th house where the moon is at home, it has its ruler, Mercury, there, and it's trining Pluto. So if you guys have been wanting to relocate to a foreign land, if you guys have been wanting to release old family karma, old emotional debt, anything like that, you can definitely do that. And you're going to want to watch for the Sun-Mercury Cazimi, which is going to be happening on the 29th, where the Sun and Mercury come into conjunction in a superior conjunction. This is where your home ideas really shine. This is about connecting with family. Maybe you have a breakthrough in how to better organize your home. Maybe you have started a new home fitness routine. Maybe you're trying to create a creative space or an office at home and things start to kind of fully like come together right around the Cazimi. Watch for sudden insight or information, connections to family, people showing up at your house, or maybe even hearing back from people that you used to date or work with, because the Sun is connected to the 6th house and Mercury is connected to the 7th. So there's a lot of reassessments where you're like, what is ending when it comes to home, family, and relationships? What new things need to emerge? So watch for all of those opportunities and for your intuition to just be like majorly lit up. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Pisces. I hope you enjoy Saturn moving out of your sign. You get a reprieve for the next couple of months in a way. So let's see what the cards say for you for the month of May. The card that I get for you is the 4 of Coins, which is kind of funny because you have all this like energy in your 4th house. So it's like, what am I holding on to? What am I letting go of? You know, what's going to bring me security? And you also have Saturn in your 2nd house where there can be a tendency to hold on to things too much, right? Something to think about is like Saturn is connected to Mars and Mars is in Leo. So are you letting go of jobs that don't feel healthy? Are you letting go of old habits that are not really good for your self-esteem? Are you possibly deciding that it's time to have a much more minimalist kind of like lifestyle where it's about not holding on to things too tightly? It's about also letting things go. So that can be beneficial. Sometimes I've seen people go through like Saturn transits in the 2nd house where if they're willing to part with things and they're willing to sell things or give it away, they can actually make money. So if you're getting your home in order, your house in order, if you're decluttering, downsizing, you have the opportunity to sell stuff and that can actually be supportive of you financially. So yes, sometimes with this card, people are like worried about money and they're holding on to stuff too tightly, but it's also about really reassessing whether or not we're kind of like building up blockages. Like there can be this awareness where if you have this like, if you have this lack mindset with Saturn in the 2nd house, you're going to experience more of it. But if you look at it as things are flowing to me, everything is working out, you know, I am building what I'm meant to be building. It's going to take time, but the money is going to come, and like really believing in yourself, you will feel super solid and secure. So just something to think about. We'll talk more about Saturn going into Aries over like the next month. So I already have some videos out on that if you want to check it out. But some of the most significant things can be built during this transit as well. Okay. I hope that's helpful for you, Pisces and Pisces rising. I'll catch you guys back here next month. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. That was the May 2025 horoscopes for the 12 rising signs. As always, thank you guys for your likes, your comments, your shares. Leave them below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider sharing with other people. I love to come back and read your guys' comments at the end of the month. I know that some people will follow up every single time something happens. I always get like a good chuckle out of seeing what kind of takes place. Remember to listen to your sun rising and also your moon sign. There's going to be some correlation to all of these. And I am so ready for these planets to change signs. We just got to get to the next 2 months where we see Jupiter in Cancer and Uranus in Gemini. And then we're like all air and fire. And things are just going to be moving and shaking all summer long. So good ships on the horizon this month. I hope you guys enjoy. I'll catch you guys back here in June. I'll see all of you very soon. Make sure you subscribe and enjoy May. All right. Take care.